Spotty Bell swinging through Midtown. Oh, what fun to sling a web and take the bad guys down. Spotty Bells, quipping all the time. Oh, what fun to swing around New York while body crime.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea. We are at episode 45.
45. We are reaching middle age.
45, baby.
We are almost as old as the Peter Parker with the paunch in the Spider-Verse.
It's actually true. We are getting there. Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. We're in a festive mood for many reasons. Christmas is a few days away. We got a Hawkeye finale to talk about tonight. And we're finally get to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah,
Can't be super excited.
Which is why Santa Claus is here, because this is the person we have to thank for this early gift, Santa Claus, for bringing us this to the theater.
Exactly. Well, with me as always is Jason. Jason, what's up?
What's going on, Ed? It's been a wild week. Been a wild week, but I'm glad to be here. Got one more day till I'm on Christmas break vacation. I'm excited.
Nice. And a new member for our Granny's Peach Tea team, Santa Claus.
Ho, ho, ho.
We couldn't do this episode without you, Santa.
I'm here for you, kid.
But also, hey, listen, in the Marvel Universe, Santa's like one of the most powerful characters they have.
That's
They've
true,
canonized
actually.
him. It's bananas, but it's true.
Wait,
Where was he when Thanos was attacking?
Exactly. When he has his solo movie or Disney Plus show, we're going to have to question him.
What you're going to learn is that Thanos attacked in the summer, and so Santa was off-world.
I actually like that explanation. I think that works for me.
That's it. You think Santa just hangs around, but no, he goes to other kids in other universes, okay? It's a shared universe.
He's got to put together the list.
Did you guys see that Santa Claus popped up when they said all the people that knew who Peter Parker was Spider-Man? Santa Claus is one of them.
Rick, that's an excellent point because he absolutely does. He has to know.
Yeah,
you're nice.
He's got him on the list.
Oh man,
I now can't wait. Now that I realize that Santa's canon, I cannot wait until we get to the part of the MCU where it's all commercialism and they're putting out like Santa Claus the movie from the MCU. I mean, we got like 20 years, I'm sure, but it's gonna happen, right?
I don't know.
I'm sure it will.
They could follow that up with the Howard the Duck, mash them up together.
Oh, I would love that.
Oh man. So we do you guys see anything else this week? Because there's been a bunch of movies going on. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Rick, I know we were talking about like Matrix Resurrections. I'm sorry, I was going to go with the wrong one there, but did you get a chance to see? Did you get a chance to see it?
I watched it right before I got on.
Okay,
I watched it just now.
You want to give a quick thought on it?
It's the power of love.
That. So you're saying that Neo doesn't need money and he doesn't need fame. He doesn't need no credit card to ride this train.
Exactly.
Neo was just as miserable when he was rich as he was when he was poor. And he was super famous in that universe and he walked around with a disguise on. The whole movie's based off of one song. Whole franchise.
Fair enough. Yeah, I actually got to see Matrix also earlier today. I went to the theater with my wife to check it out, and yeah, just the short version I thought it was solid. It was all right. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't like, phenomenal. I mean, I think it had some cool ideas, but it's all right. I know it sucks that it'd be like, yeah, we're talking about a Matrix movie right now with this, but the third one was garbage as it was. So
yeah.
I tapped out after the first one. Like I saw the second and third, and we'll never see them again. But I own the Matrix, and I'll put that on every now and then because I think that's a blast.
Well, I will say is that if you do decide to watch the new one, you should probably refresh on the other three.
Yeah, it's a big ask. Probably won't watch this
I
one.
I will say that. I'll leave it at that. And also got to check out our movie for next week, The Kingsman.
Yeah. Yep, I checked that out as well. And we'll be covering that next week, right? Next week, you said?
Next week is all Kingsman. We'll be talking about Kingsman, The Secret Service. We'll be talking about Kingsman, The Golden Circle, and The Kingsman. So check that out because our shows are on hiatus. Marvel has given us all they could possibly give us right now that we're going to talk about tonight. So,
and look, I to be honest, I cherish these little one-off episodes where we get to explore craziness. Like, I remember when we first started this podcast and we did Judge Dredd, and that gave me a reason to watch Judge Dredd. And it's like, it's refreshing to get away from some of the franchise stuff. As much as I love it, it's nice to just sort of explore new things.
Oh, Which is your favorite Dredd?
My favorite Dredd? Oh, it's not Stallone. Come on. Yours though is Rick, right? You're a big. Are you a Stallone Dredd guy?
It's not Stallone that does it for me. It's Rob Schneider.
Oh.
I feel like he made all the difference.
Okay, all right. I mean, that wasn't necessarily a better difference, but it was a difference.
So we got some quick comments here to jump into. Bert chiming in. Bert, thanks for joining us. Anyone else still recovering emotionally? What a wonderful week. Yeah, dude, it's been a crazy ride of shows and and movies and a lot of the two of the big things we're going to talk about tonight. But it's a wonderful time. I can't complain about getting too much awesome shit in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and not only the awesome stuff that we just got, but the opening of possibilities in the future that both Hawkeye and Spider-Man No Way Home give us. You know what I mean? And I mean, we'll get to it, but I'm really excited about looking at what's to come as well.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We know, yes, of course, Alex.
Yeah.
Here talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm glad to see he's still with us. He didn't just explode and fall into the multiverse somewhere. I was wondering if I was concerned about him.
It's funny. I text Alex right before we saw the movie. Like, I'm going to see No Way Home. I'm curious to hear what you think. And then he went radio silent on me for a couple of days, and I only imagine that he was like, "Nope, he might spoil something. I'm not even going to look at this."
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. Anyone out there, we're excellent about spoilers. I mean, after I saw the movie on Thursday night, I went to a barbecue place in Queens, watched the Chiefs and Chargers game. Rick, we were there with D'Anthony.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
So me, TJ, and Angie all saw the movie. We didn't bring it up once. The commercial kept popping up during the game, and I would just put my head down and smile quickly and just keep it moving. That was it. So that was expert non-spoilers. I think we've been great with the page. We haven't put anything up on the Facebook page at all.
Yep.
You know what's even better? It's one thing when the moderator does it, but when the people that take part in your page, when they actually play by the rules, super cool.
No, thank you for everybody on the Facebook page because everyone's been super cool about it. We're all we know the page is for it. We all try to respect everyone not being able to see it at the same time. But now that the show is here. Usually after that is when we're like, all right, now we're going to agree to be spoilery now and do whatever the heck you want now. So,
yeah, I do want to compliment our page just one more time because now that I'm thinking about it, I've been in a lot of Facebook pages which are just cesspools. It's arguments and it's spoiling and it's people being mean to each other, and we never have that in our Facebook group. So thank you guys. Cheers, some Granny's peach tea from me to you.
Cheers to you guys. And gals, because you guys, all of you are awesome.
Yeah.
So you should see the gardening Facebook club I'm a member of. It's war. Daily.
Oh, I can't even imagine. My wife was
on a gardening Facebook group.
Identify this fruit. Is this an iguana?
Oh my god. Oh, that's great.
That was segueing into Spider-Man, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to Spider-Man, though, we're going to go ahead. We're throwing up the spoilers now. So if you have not seen the finale of Hawkeye that dropped earlier today on Disney Plus, you definitely you should tune out now because we're about to spoil the hell out of this thing. Exactly, Rick. That is awesome. What is that? What's that card from?
It's from a playing set, a play card set.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to find the whole set. I bought this at a flea market for like a quarter, and it's like got Captain America, Spider-Man, like everybody. And it's like playing cards.
Nice.
That's really cool.
I dig that. I've never seen that before. So, all right. Well, let's get into it, man. So we got the finale of Hawkeye earlier today, and they didn't waste any time. They give us the Kingpin immediately.
Yeah,
in the opening scene.
They knew exactly what we wanted. They teased us. They finally gave us it at the end. Then of course they double shot at us with No Way Home, which we'll get to later. They knew exactly what we wanted, and I was there eating it up. I'm there like going, oh my god, I forgot just how good D'Onofrio is as the Kingpin.
Oh my god, he is so awesome in this role. Yeah, he goes and he meets it off with Eleanor right off the bat. They have their conversation. We find out Eleanor was pretty much indebted to him due to her husband like owing a boatload of money to him, and she was paying off that. It doesn't excuse what the hell she's doing. She's still killing people and framing her fiance, which we found out, by the way. We're all curious if he was just going to be the patsy guy, but apparently he was really the patsy guy. But I will say he was awesome in this episode. I love Jack. In this episode,
he's MVP. He's MVP when he starts sword fighting.
Take that! Oh, I'm gone. I love it.
I love it.
His energy.
I really hope they revisit that guy. Yes, and he's always like smiling and positive no matter what. Like, I'm there
always.
for it.
And Rick, we chatted very briefly because we cut our conversation short, but I wanted you to give the opportunity to talk about what you noticed about this Kingpin, because I don't think they fully answer the question of like if this is the same Kingpin from the Netflix shows or not. But like you mentioned something earlier that I found really interesting.
So one thing I wanted to save for Spider-Man, which kind of feeds into if it's the same Kingpin. Electro didn't know he was Peter Parker. So maybe that Electro is like another Electro.
Well, he knew Andrew Garfield though, but I mean, so we're not crossing over with that.
Don't cross streams, but
we're not going to cross the streams. But briefly to talk about that is he in Amazing Spider-Man 2, because I know we all try to forget that happened.
What is that?
Exactly. Electro doesn't ever find out.
Right.
That's who it is. So just a little bit of a misstep, I'd have to say on that situation.
And with the writing, he says, "I thought you'd be black."
Yeah, so clearly reinforcing that he didn't know who Peter was. But
although I'm going to defend it because I saw something on YouTube that kind of defends this point, is that maybe he never saw Peter Parker's face, but he found out his name when he was recruited by the Green Goblin, who's actually a goblin, when he's putting together a Sinister Six. It might have been information like, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, but Electro had no context for that. So, it's a bit of a stretch, but at least it's something there. I don't think it's as glaring a plot hole as
not
people
concrete.
think it is.
Right. So to piggyback off of that open-mindedness, when I watched the episode, I noticed all of the shots, they were like made in a way to make him look huge, way bigger than everyone in every room he walked in.
Yeah.
And in the Daredevil series, I was like, he was more of just like a big guy. Like Vincent D'Onofrio's 6'4", 280. He's a big guy. But in this, I felt like they were making him look larger.
Yeah.
And then I went back and I watched the prison scene from Daredevil where he got stabbed and then he like goes haywire. Mm-hmm. It's kind of just as big. So it made me think it's the same dude. Seeing him take an arrow to the stomach, seeing him take a knife to the stomach. I think it's the same one.
I still hope it is. I don't think this episode clearly gives us anything concrete to really hold on to, at least that I noticed. But mention when you were talking about the way Kingpin is shot, especially in the opening scene when he talks to Eleanor, when he's walking, you hear a thump, thump. Like it's like a huge presence. And when he's across the table talking to her, he seems like he's like 10 times her size.
Right.
Which I liked a lot. I really appreciated that. Whether this is or isn't, they made him larger than life, which is very important for the character.
Yeah, I actually didn't even question if it was the same Kingpin. I mean, I figured it's the same Kingpin with like an MCU makeover to make him a bit more comics accurate. And I'm willing to bet that's what we're gonna get with Daredevil when we eventually get Charlie Cox in the outfit, because that is gonna happen at some point. I'm sure like they're gonna cherry pick the parts of the backstory they want to keep, forget the rest. And I think, it's going to be a more Marvel-fied version. But I think it's going to be bare bones the same Kingpin and the same Daredevil from that show.
Okay. That's fair enough. Yeah, I don't think they're going to, if it's not quote-unquote the same, I think they would blur the line. So if you want to make it the same, go for it. If not, then who cares? Yeah, so she pretty much tells Fisk she wants out. And that's where the story starts. And then that video of that meeting, Yelena was there apparently recording it and ends up going ahead and gets sent to to Kate. And Kate finds out. Before we continue, we have to drag in someone who we haven't seen in a little bit. But
wait a minute. Are we grabbing people from the multiverse now?
We're gonna we're gonna just.
We need a sound effect for that. There you go.
That's the best I got. I don't have anything.
Oh, it's Wayne's World. Wayne's World.
Yes. There you go. Tony, you've been brought back.
Well, it's what happens when the multiverse opens up, and you never know who's going to step through that wall. So,
I mean, maybe you're not even the same Tony that we have. You might be another Tony from another universe.
And I'm sworn to secrecy, so you're just going to have to figure that shit out on your own.
Fair enough.
Gentlemen, how are you? I am privileged to be able to sit next to Mr. Rick. How are you, sir?
Good. Nice to be with you tonight.
Nice to be with you too, man. The Hawkeye aficionado is here. I can't wait to get your perspectives, bro. I miss you guys. Happy holidays to everybody.
For sure. Yeah, well, let's
Happy holidays, Tony.
Oh, you got to do the whole show in that thing, bro. You got to do the whole show in that.
He might pass out. It's
really not that bad.
I think it's too hot.
Rick says to me before, he goes, I'm lucky it's cool out there. It's only 72. And I'm sitting here like, 72, it's so cool.
Faraci does that all the time, bro. He's like, oh, it's only 68 degrees at 6:00 in the morning. I'm like, come on, man. What are you got to be like that for?
Respect people, man.
Then it's 85 by 11.
Yeah. 85. That's great. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you. Very nice.
All right, so pretty much that video gets sent of that meeting to Kate. Kate goes ahead and has a quick conversation with Clint, and Clint really solidifies this, like, calming her down, let's talk it through, because she's getting emotional. And it's like, you're my partner. Your mess is my mess. And right there, you can tell, like, she double takes. And that hits home for her. And she's like, wow, all right, I've officially been validated. Because Clint's been, like, big brother to her and just kind of, like, not really giving her that and trying to save her all the time. But now, like, they've kind of moved past that in that scene. And I thought that was pretty awesome.
I agree. I love the way their relationship kind of matures in this episode, because it's not only that he doesn't leave her. She says, this is my mess. Go home to your family. Spend Christmas with your family. And we got that whole, like, it hits her how important that was a couple episodes ago. So she's being genuine about it. And so for him to do that, like, that had a big emotional impact. I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tony.
No, I was just going to say I haven't really been in this conversation, but I thought that Haley did a great job with the show. Like she really straddled that borderline of fangirl and yet professional, like trying to show off what she can do and why she actually should be his partner. And I thought she did it really well. It was acted really well by Haley, and she showed him a lot during, the first 5 episodes of this season, that, to show that she did belong, and she wasn't just some kid or some groupie or anything like that. She really belonged to where she was, and, she could handle herself, and, she was mature enough to do what needed to be done. And I think that went a long way with Clint, and he rewarded her by saying, listen, we're in this together. So, You know, I need you and you need me.
Yeah. For me, that was CB1's like Bruce Wayne moment. For me, that's like he's officially like, you are my Robin.
Yeah.
But I also at the end of the show worried if he's passing the torch to her, and she's not his Robin, she's gonna be Hawkeye.
I mean, listen. Well,
It's a legitimate question.
No, it's a legitimate question.
Because they're discussing what her nickname or what her alias should be, and then it pops up.
Well, I think it's fair though, because I think in the comics they both go by Hawkeye at the same time. So, you know, again, I'm fine with them if that's what they choose to go with. Eventually, if they're both Hawkeye, that's fine. I mean, because also this Clint Barton is also, you know, older and been trying to retire a couple of times already. But he also feels. I think by the end of this, he feels rejuvenated though.
Yeah, that's true too.
Well, him wearing the suit definitely. You know, because he listened, you know, and that was a big thing for her. Like, you know, she kept saying the whole time, you need to market yourself better. You need to have a different suit. And, you know, he just didn't want to hear any of it. But, you know, I think also that she rejuvenated him because really his partner, you know, prior to Infinity War was Natasha, you know, and then she's been gone and he kind of fell out of that whole thing after Endgame. I'm sure he was, you know, looking at retirement and looking at it like, you know, I'm just going to spend more time with my kids. And I feel like Kate really rejuvenated him, right, and reinvigorated his, you know, his passion for doing this job. And, you know, I would not be surprised, you know, if the two of them do partner up, you know, going forward. I mean, I think they tried to make it seem as if, you know, he was trying to pass it off to her, but I think that, you know, that she really got to him in this in this series, and, you know, and she, you know, kind of picked him up off the mat and says, hey, you could do this again.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so then Maya also finds out that about what's going on. Maya goes to Fisk, has a quick meeting with him and Kazi, and pretty much is saying that, yeah, you know, I'm going to bow out of this. This is getting too much. It's out of control. I need to chill out and move on. I can't bring my father back, blah, blah, blah. Fisk totally isn't buying it. He pretty much tells Kazi right after, she's out. She's leaving us. We need to take care. You know, the city needs to be reminded that this is my city. At the end of that, I was like, oh, shit.
He has that, like, because he flips out. He's like, you know, she's leaving us, and that woman, the other woman, thinks that she come in here and quit when she owes a debt. And, like, he really gives us like a Wilson Fisk flip at. It was great.
Yeah, he's like, an Avenger is on top of our business now.
That's it.
Like, what the hell is going on? I kept this.
Ronan's running around the city.
Yeah, exactly. No, good point. No, Ronan's running around. Shit's going haywire. We need to, like, make a statement and remind everybody, like, this is my effing city, pretty much, and that's that.
I have to admit that I at that moment I was thinking, I wonder if we're gonna get Daredevil in this episode. Like, it was a brief thought, but because when he
through my head too, bro,
right? Because when he said, like, I gotta remind people whose city this is, and, like, remembering his history with Daredevil, I was like, oh, maybe Daredevil's gonna show up and fight with Hawkeye.
Oh my god, I was waiting
that
for
would have been so
episode.
great.
Maybe next season.
That would have been so great.
That would be awesome if it happens next season.
Yeah, so one of my favorite scenes, though, was the next one where Clint and Kate are making a bunch of trick arrows, like a new batch of trick arrows. You see they got some Pym tech, some Stark tech, you know, a whole bunch of stuff. But then there's more, pretty much Kate and Clint having another, like, brief, like, deep conversation. And Kate tells him, like, you're my, you know, pretty much, you know, as the mentor, like, how she inspired him. And, like, to say, listen, I saw a guy with a string and a stick fighting aliens. You don't have to have superpowers. You don't have to have any of this stuff, you know, to do that. All you got to do is just, you know, have the courage to do so. I thought that was a really great scene.
I thought that line that she said was fantastic. Was that I realized that being a superhero wasn't about having superpowers. It was about having the courage to do what was right. And I was like, that is such a great line. It really is. And it really embodies Clint, I think, perfectly, you know, throughout this entire thing. And he said it in Age of Ultron, where he goes, yeah, we're fighting, you know, we're in the sky, we're fighting aliens, and we're fighting a bunch of robots, and I have a bow and arrow. It doesn't make any sense.
Just go with it.
But that line, I felt that she said, I feel like really just embodies who Clint Barton has been in the MCU, and hopefully will be going forward.
Great. Rick?
No, I thought it was a great character moment watching him build the arrows. It was like, Peter Parker building his web shooters.
Mhm.
It expanded the character. I always assumed he just had an armorer, Stark Tech or somebody would just supply him with stuff. But then when I finished watching this episode and I finished watching that scene, I was wondering why it was necessary that they steal his old arrows if he could have built new arrows at any point.
Oh, I mean, that's a fair point. But yeah, I guess he also needed that because he does have some Stark Tech that he has and everything.
Well, I think he says like the arrow heads we can replace. It's the arrows shaft. They needed the shafts because the shafts are specifically made to hold the tips, and we saw them making the tips right with the shafts that they retrieved. So I think that was why.
Okay, because I watched that scene and I'm like, he made a cop risk her whole career, and he could have just built arrows at any time. What a jerk.
So I think that whole scene kind of between the music and between like preparing for everything else kind of gave me some Home Alone vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's building up the traps and stuff like that before the wet bandit show up.
I think it's funny though. This is the second time, Ed, that we've referenced Home Alone between this podcast and Double O Deep Dive, and I'm thinking. Actually. Are we just in the Christmas spirit, or does so many like movies like this actually steal from Home Alone?
If anyone's getting ready for somebody bad to show up, you think about Home Alone.
That's true.
I mean, right or wrong. I mean, come on, Jason. Let's admit it. That's what Batman is doing when he has prep time.
That's true.
Pretty much Kevin McAllister.
Yes.
So, I rewatched it recently. And the only thing to do with Christmas with Home Alone is the fact that it takes place during Christmas. There's nothing else.
That's it.
That's it.
Uh-huh. Don't try to besmirch.
Sounds like another movie I know.
Yeah, don't try to besmirch like two of the best Christmas movies ever.
It's called Love Actually. The only thing that has to do with that movie is it takes place during Christmas.
You've been bringing up a lot of Love Actually lately, Rich.
It's a great movie. Rick Grimes is starring in it. Come on.
He is actually. So is Liam Neeson. That's some badassery right there.
Yeah, and his daughter's fine in it. That's the crazy part.
Change of pace. So pretty much everything shifts to the Christmas party, the Bishop Security Christmas party, which I love the fact that it takes place. A lot of the rest of the episode pretty much takes place at Rockefeller Center, which I adored.
Awesome.
It was so awesome.
I want to go to that goddamn Christmas party though. That looked like a great Christmas
That's what I'm saying. I've been to some crazy Christmas parties, man. I mean, not the Nakatomi one, like I try to make it to that one, but I've been to some others. But this is up there.
Yeah. I'd like to see we show up at Nakatomi Tower. That would be great.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something that Nakatomi Tower has that this doesn't. Ellis doing blow in the bathroom. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. Instead, we get LARPers disguised as waiters and waitresses throughout the thing. And really I love the fact that I love the fact we'll just call them Hawkeyes. Hawkeyes have their team set up. I love that. I love the fact that that's all there.
I love when they keep saying that I'm with Hawkeye.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm with Hawkeye. I'm on the list. I'm with Hawkeye.
Wow, I think Bert's gonna make Rick's night with this one.
Oh yeah.
Oh. I was thinking about that earlier too. Thinking of, isn't She-Hulk a lawyer?
What?
Isn't She-Hulk a lawyer, or what's her?
No, She-Hulk's a lawyer. No, we talked about this last week. All the pieces are in place.
Yeah,
I'm saying the possibility to get another Daredevil appearance in her show as a lawyer.
Oh, for sure. No, that's all. That's definitely that's where a lot of people are speculating where she's going to show up. Where he's going to show up next. So I also thought this is where Jack was really endearing to me because he pretty much was talking to that little kid who was like, "Dude, I could have got your wine collection. Like I was about to enjoy it." He's like, "You're not even old enough to enjoy it." He's like, "Well, what about when you go back to prison?" And his line back when he tells us, like, "Remember that time you peed your pants in the Hamptons?" He's like, "Well, no." He goes, "I remember. Everyone remembers."
Everybody does. Everybody does.
He's just so jovial and like he takes everything with such stride, you know.
Yeah.
Like this kid's pissed for getting out of prison before he can get his hands on his wine collection, and he's just like, "Yeah, remember the time you peed your pants?" Like he's not even mad about it.
No, not at all. Whatever. You're gonna wish me to go back to prison. I'm just gonna go ahead and point out you peeing your pants. I love it. So Kazi shows up, starts shooting up the damn party. All hell breaks loose. Yelena shows up also, so you know shit's about to hit the fan. And everyone's scattering everywhere, and shit's gotten crazy. And then pretty much Kate follows Yelena to an elevator where she's going to go ahead and track down Clint. And that whole scene, they have an awesome scene in the elevator where there's a whole lot of back and forth, but ultimately she goes ahead and presses a bunch of the buttons to make sure she can't find out where Clint is. Or get there right away, and she just gets pretty much pissed off at her.
And what I love about Yelena in this is like their banter is like their old friends. I think at one point Kate Bishop even says we should go out for a drink, and Yelena goes, "That sounds lovely." After I kill Clint, and even after Kate presses all the buttons, Yelena's like she's not mad, she's just like exhausted. Like really, like, like that's what I love about it. Like, she is so never going to attack Kate.
She's like, that's so annoying.
Yeah.
Master assassin, a Black Widow.
So
and
funny.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Yelena's so good in this episode.
She's really good in just like all the episodes she's in, and we talked about Black Widow. Like she does a phenomenal job in that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, she pretty much just tells him like, you know, at the end before Kate goes, they have this like fight through the hallway, and like it's I actually thought it was a pretty cool shot where they just kind of like pan through. And it was through an office building. Somebody was on their phone and doing their job, and they're just fighting through the whole way. And very complimentary of each other the entire time. Yeah. And before Yelena's like, kind of like, all right, enough. And she goes out the window, Black Widow style, runs down the side of the fucking NBC building over there at Rockefeller Center. And right before,
Comcast now.
Comcast, sorry.
Comcast.
Yeah.
Tony's right. Tony's right.
It. Don't you?
She pretty much tells us stop making me, Yelena and Bishop. Sorry, Kate yells, "Stop making me like you." But that was another great line.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't on for the episode where they were sat across with the macaroni and cheese scene, right? Yeah. But I feel like, you know, like she sat there and she's used to, you know, she's used to intimidating people. Like she's an assassin, you know, so she's used to intimidating people. And the fact that Kate sat there and was rightfully afraid, knowing who she was, but yet wouldn't back down to her, and I think that gave her a very, you know, like a vibe of like, you know, like, all right, I gotta respect this girl because, you know, she's come out of nowhere, and yet she knows, you know, the power that I possess, yet she's not backing down, and you know, she's still trying to protect him, and I think that kind of gives her a little insight into, you know, why are you trying to convince me that he is, you know, that he's worth saving. You know, why are you trying to? And then that whole scene in the hallway is exactly the same thing. So the dynamic between the two of them, I thought, for this whole series was fantastic.
Yeah, my only wish with that fight scene through the hallway is if they would have did it in one take, like one of those Daredevil scenes.
Oh yeah.
While I was watching it, I was like, "This is the perfect one take scene right here."
That would have been pretty cool.
I know the scene you're talking about too, in that first season of Daredevil where he goes up and down the hallway. That scene is just unbelievable.
Which in each season of Daredevil, they have to have a fight that goes on through some hallway or something. It became like the staple eventually.
Yeah, but that one is the one. Like that's
I agree.
There's no topping that scene. That was unbelievable.
The Frank Castle one was good, but it's still not as good as that one.
Mm-hmm.
No. I agree. The season one was excellent.
Yep.
All right, so then the LARPers are down there, pretty much helping do crowd control, and eventually decide to suit up because apparently no one's listening to them. And they're like, even though they're firefighters and cops and things like that, they choose to suit up as their LARPer costumes.
I love the LARPers. I love it.
Love the fact that they didn't just drop that. It was just a one gag thing. Like it kept going throughout the series.
No, right. It actually became a pretty integral part of the series because these people have helped Hawkeye in like so many different ways since they met. I mean, and I think that's awesome because again, like you said, Ed, I thought this was going to be a one-off joke. Like, oh, Hawkeye had to LARP. That was funny, but it's like, no, these are people. These are human beings that help Hawkeye out throughout the series. It was awesome.
No, for sure. And then Clint is stuck in the Rockefeller Center tree. which I thought was great. And he befriends an owl who comes back in a little bit to help him out. So Kate gets him out, which in other words, showing like, even though she's like, listen, don't get me out. Clint's saying, don't get me out. Don't do anything crazy. She's like, no, this is happening. You want me to count down to it? No, I'm not going to count down to it. It's okay, fine. Boom, breaks him out. He falls onto the ice at Rockefeller Center because the whole tree collapses. And then the huge battle begins with the tracksuits because apparently there's an unlimited amount of tracksuits, by the way. That was insane.
Can I just say that
a bunch
the
of
tracksuit
agents.
mafia group
Yes.
was just outstanding. Like, they were great. And the fact that during the fight scene where he's about to shoot her, he says, by the way, thank you for that advice with my girlfriend, because it really worked out. And she's like, that's wonderful. Why are you trying to shoot me?
That was I've been waiting for us to get here because that was my favorite moment in this episode because the callback to the second episode where she's giving him relationship advice and that guy has been in a lot of these episodes and he's just been really funny. Like that was the guy in the Royal Tenenbaums conversation, and just for him, like, hey, thank you for that. I lost it. I thought that was so much.
It was
fun.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that scene. The thing that impressed me was seeing so many people run on ice and nobody slip.
Listen, hockey coaches and everything like that, they take it seriously. You know, it's a skill.
That's a big deal.
So the whole fight breaks out. They're going through a bunch of tracksuits. They're fighting them, and then we get the trick arrows and find out what they really can do. Apparently, there's a magnetic one that disarms a bunch of the tracksuits, which I thought was genius.
That was awesome.
Because now they have no guns because they were coming with some guns and they could have just kept shooting at them. Probably would have ended that scene pretty quickly. So,
that was like Batman-esque. That was awesome.
Yeah, I agreed. There was some with blades that were like shooting at people and they were firing a whole bunch of other pointy, pricky things.
Those are called nails.
Was it nails? Was it nails?
Yeah.
I thought it was like the harpoon. Was it nails?
Yeah, it like shot something and then it would rotate and shoot nails into
Okay, I gotta be honest. Didn't think they were nails at all. Did not think they were nails. I'm sorry. I thought they were like little harpoons.
Like, there's two scenes. One is that nail, and the other one is when he shoots the arrow that turns that guy's leg to ice. They have to amputate that leg. Like how?
People were dying. People were dying and stuff.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Knock them out.
No, there wasn't. Rick, you didn't get your boxing glove arrow. In the scene. There was like seriously dangerous arrows going on.
Yeah, exactly. If not for freezing that guy's leg, you should have hit him with the boxing glove arrow.
True.
Oh my god!
But then the best one I thought was the Pimtech arrow that we got again. So they have another one that they go in and they shrink a van. A whole truck of the tracksuits were coming through. They shrink the damn thing, and the owl shows up and takes him away. And Kate asking, what happened? You know, what do we do now that they're shrunk? And he's like, well, I gotta ask Scott about that. I really don't know what to do next. Owl comes and takes him away. He's like, well, then I guess there's that. They probably died. There's like a chance they probably died.
There's no probably. That owl is a carnivore. That owl picked them up and ate them.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome too. But then I think it's interesting where they break off the fights, because Maya shows up then and has a one-on-one with Kazi, right? Mm-hmm. Which was pretty emotional because Maya didn't want to kill him at all, but she wanted him to go.
She wanted him to go with her.
Yeah, she was trying to turn him, but he's like, "Listen, this is my life." Plus, he's essentially thinking too, "You don't quit the Kingpin. I know this. I'm not gonna try this shit." You know, Eleanor's trying to do this, but I know not to do that crap. And by the end of the fight, though, you know, unfortunately, she ends up, she gets the better of him and ends up like killing him.
Yeah.
Then you get Yelena and Clint, who are fighting on the ice, which gets really
phenomenal scene.
Yeah, that gets pretty emotional.
And actually, Rick, I thought of you because last week when we were talking about like Yelena's motives, and you had said like, you know, she probably is just mad that Clint Barton got all this time with her sister and she didn't. And she literally says that in this episode. Mm-hmm. Like you nailed it, like right on the top of the head.
Thank you. It was just her being an angry, you know, young person.
Right, who's jealous that she didn't get the time with her sister that she wanted, and she was projecting on this guy who did.
And she's grieving the fact that, that she's not with her anymore. She didn't get a chance to say goodbye. She lost 5 years of her life. Like, there's a, I really like, this is one thing I do really like. Not that that's one thing, but it's something I really like that Marvel has done since Endgame, is that they're starting to show more and more of how the blip has affected the people who were blipped away. You look at now, you look at, we're going to go into when in No Way Home, when Stephen Train says, well, I'm not the Sorcerer Supreme anymore because he got it on a technicality because I was blipped away for 5 years. So that happened. You have, Yelena, you saw, and that scene with her, with turning to the dust and coming right back, like that was amazing. They've done a really good job, I think, recently more, that they're starting to show the difference, like how these people were affected, that they were gone for 5 years, and and how it's affecting them now. And now this Yelena, especially dealing with the loss of her sister, who she just reconnected with after all this time. So, I think Marvel has, is doing a good job with it, and it's going to be, I think, a thing going forward, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And what I really like is when we saw Endgame and Infinity War, the snap and the blip, they were plot devices. None of us thought how did the Joe Schmo or Jane Smith on the street deal with it, right? But now, like, even since WandaVision, when we get, I forget her name, but the character who's blipped and comes back and her mother's dead. The character from
Monica Rambeau.
Thank you, Monica Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau, right.
We started seeing like it with her, and then even with Yelena, like I think it's even more. And I think like that's what I really like about this phase so far of the MCU is they've taken what was essentially a plot device and shown and explored the emotional ramifications throughout in many different ways, and they just did a great job with it here.
But they also did that in Endgame because they gave it a much deeper storyline, because they showed you the effect of people that were still gone. And you saw, how it affected Steve, how it affected Natasha. It really was what drove Natasha to do what she did, was the fact that she sacrificed herself for the opportunity to be able to bring everybody back. So they used that. And I mean, you remember, like when you saw that movie for the first time, and it said 5 years later across the screen,
I was shocked.
You were like, "Oh my god!" Like they're, and it went to show you they didn't wait 6 months, a year, even 18 months, because that's a amount of time that you can deal with something and then have someone come back. 5 years is a long fucking time. Like that's a long time for your family or your loved one or whoever to be gone, and you think that they're completely gone and you've moved on. So to show now Yelena, you see what happened even with Wanda, because Wanda was gone, she came back. She knew Vision was gone. It sparked a whole thing that happened in Westville. So I mean, it's to me, the fact that they're diving this far into it again after they gave you the initial depth in Endgame is it just makes these stories so much more powerful, and it's the character and it endears you to the characters as well. I love the fact that they're doing this,
and that's what I think you can also do a lot more of with having shows. Now you can do little things like, if there were no MCU shows, we never would have got most of the stuff. Like, you never would have bothered with Elena too much, and even this series gives a whole new depth to a character that we've been with since Thor, since the first Thor. Like, Hawkeye comes out of this looking 100 times more awesome now, because he got to fight in more of an element, a street element here, and against not aliens and Thanos and all this other stuff, or like Ultron bots. He's fighting against like other people, like the Mafia and stuff, and he gets to show off more of his skills. And I think it's great.
Absolutely. And another reason, and going back to what Rick said before about possibly, like, is he trying to pass in a torch or whatnot or whatever, but the scene maybe 5 minutes or 4 minutes before that scene where they're walking back into the house, I think kind of cements the idea that he's not going anywhere. And that's the whole story with the Rolex.
Which we'll get to shortly. But with the Yelena versus Clint fight, though, there's a lot there. We find out, that she doesn't truly know the whole story, and Clint's not even trying to sell her on it, because he's like, you're not going to believe me anyway. And she does make a good point, though, because even though she's saying it, she's like, okay, you fought. You should have fought harder. again, just trying to pretty much just like take it out on him. We get that conversation.
She's trying to justify her anger for it.
Exactly. And I think a really interesting thing here, and it's something that we've kind of goofed about a lot on this show, and I'm glad Rick's here for this, is the way that when Yelena has Clint down and is about to pretty much, she's ready to kill him, and she does the whistle that she did for Natasha, he does it back.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, he goes ahead and does it back, and then that sparks the conversation and everything like that. But I also think that
name?
Exactly what I thought of. This is how to execute it. That was not. Again, I have to keep on hammering home BVS. But I'm just saying, like, you can see it was the same premise, right?
That's where, as soon as the scene ended, I was like, Martha.
Why did you say that name?
But I thought I just thought it was really, I want to point out, it was just really well executed there at a point saying,
Agreed.
you know, when someone's about to kill somebody, recognizes them.
And the fact and how he explains it at the end, which he wasn't trying, like you said, wasn't trying to explain it at all. And then when he gets to the point where he says, when he says, what happened or whatever, and he says no one could stop her. He says, Natasha. And at that point, she stood there, and at that point, she's like, yeah, I do know that there was no there was no one that was going to be able to talk her out of it, because she was saying, if I had been there, I would have been able to. And he's like, look, no one was going to be able to talk her out of this. No one was going to be able to defeat this. It was going to be her all along.
Well, Tony, that's a good point, though, because what I had thought about too when she brings up the fact that I could have done something about it, right? So in my mind, I'm like, all right, let's just say Yelena and Natasha went to Volmir to go get the Soul Stone. Somebody's got to give somebody up, right? Like that, your heart that you love most. Natasha still would have sacrificed herself to make sure Yelena got the Soul Stone and did the whole thing.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. That's exactly what he was saying. Was like, look, you could say that you could have changed this or that or whatever. Natasha, you knew who she was. Yeah. There was no changing her mind. There was no defeating her, and he was right. There was nothing that was going to be done that was going to, that she was going to, that was going to change her mind or allow him to do that.
No.
And I do love that when she says, like, try to stop her, is like, we fought. She was better than me. Like, I really like that, because that's admiration. Like, he means that. Like, she was better than me. She's a better soldier. It's better everything. And I think that authenticity also comes across to Yelena. So I really just love that whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
So that brings us to the other fight. That was pretty much the three big fights at the end of this episode, where Kate ends up having to fight Kingpin.
Oh my God.
One-on-one, and something that Rick and I talked about. But Rick, it's funny. I actually rewatched it right before we went on tonight. Mm-hmm. So because I usually will try to get in at least 2 watches of these shows before we do this. It definitely comes across though. Kingpin beats the crap out of her. Throws her around like a rag doll the whole time. She pretty much gets lucky because he snaps the shafts of the arrows, of the trick arrows, and they fall down. And then the flick, move that Clint taught her comes back into play. She fires off all the trick arrows that are left at that point. All of them combined is what takes Fisk out, but still doesn't freaking kill the guy. The guy's he got hit with an arrow
in the chest.
Arrows in the chest. He's just pulling them out and throwing them there. Gets hit with all the trick arrows eventually. Gets hit with a fucking car. Put through a glass right there.
Awesome scene, by the way. Awesome moment.
FAO Schwartz, by the way.
Yes,
anybody pick up when she stepped on the piano?
Yes. I was wondering if they were going to go full big or not, but
I was too. Like, you're going to start tap dancing on that thing?
Yeah.
No, when I was watching that scene, it really hurt my image of the big guy, because in Daredevil he was so badass, and here he's fighting a 19-year-old woman, and he can't. She's knocking him all over the room.
But she's not.
But he's tossing her around. But I think that he really wasn't taking her seriously.
He was pulling his punches.
Yeah, like he's just like, get away from me, kid. Like,
when I rewatched Daredevil, there were scenes where he pulled punches with people that he could have killed.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was pulling his punches with her, and that kept extending the fight.
Right.
Yeah, but
And I think
he
he's-
still punches her and she goes flying across the room.
Yeah.
Like,
And
but bro, you remember that first scene, that introductory scene to Kingpin where he literally beat the guy to death,
mhm.
you know, by the car. Like that's how brutal he was. He was not doing that to her. Like,
Correct.
he literally was like, just get away, and he like tossed her across the room.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think he made,
That's when I
Rick is
rewatched the scene. That's what I saw.
yeah, because he
And
makes
I
it
think-
clear,
and I
like,
feel
he
like-
does not want to be fighting her. Like, you're not my problem.
Yeah, like-
Get out of here.
Right. That's exactly what he says. He's like, you're not my problem. I got no problem with you. Get away. And he just kind of tosses her. So I don't think he viewed her as actually a threat. His motive right there was just to take out the mother, and that was it. He didn't want. He had wanted nothing to do with her. And he just he just snapped the arrows like, please, and then just walked away.
Yeah, she traps him in there with one of the Trick's arrows. Otherwise, he would have just tossed it to the side and kept it moving.
Right.
So,
she closed
yeah,
up the
that's what I'm
thing with
saying.
that electrical thing.
Well,
Yeah.
weird thing with that is he came into the store through a window. There were a bunch of other windows he could have went right back out through. He like looked at that one little net and he's like, oh,
Foiled again.
So, but I think it's important to point that out, though. It's not like Kate just beat him hand-to-hand combat and was like suddenly out of nowhere. Granted, she is trained and everything like that, so that's why I don't think it does anything with making him look bad or anything. Is that she kind of got lucky? She took a lucky shot there, and that was that, and it just happened to work. So I'm fine with that. But he doesn't get
that would never happen again. He would never take her that lightly ever again.
Oh no! If they ever run into each other again, forget it. Like she better have. She better have a Pimtech trick arrow ready to go to shrink her down or something.
Yeah, because he's gonna beat her to death with his bare hands.
Yes, exactly. And Clint also, just for the hell of it, because by association.
Ending of season 2 right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Kingpin not so lucky though. After that, leaves and then runs into Maya in the alley, pretty much thinking like, oh, he's like saying all this stuff about. We're family and everything like that. And she ain't hear none of that shit. She takes a gun, but they cut away, and we hear the two.
They never showed a body. No.
Look, here's the thing.
I'm not buying it.
He's dead. He's not.
All right,
dead.
Tony, you know where I'm going. Like you didn't see it, so.
Every one of us
right.
has been talking about the future of the Kingpin in this episode, knowing how this episode ended. Not one of us fucking for a second thought that guy's dead. Because there are two things. You don't see the body, they're not dead. And unless they are Uncle Ben or Bruce Wayne's parents, they aren't dead.
Everybody stays. Everyone lives. So there's no way.
Prior to watching Squid Game, like off-screen, like shooting deaths, I'd be like, oh, they're dead. Now that I saw that, every time somebody gets shot off screen, they're still alive.
I agree. There's no way he's dead. They don't go through all this. They don't go through all of this, first of all, to kill him off in one episode. That's the first and foremost thing.
No.
Second of all, okay, like he had an arrow in the goddamn middle of his chest. Like, and he just pulled it out like it was nothing. So no blood. You didn't see not a stitch of blood anywhere. So
that was weird. He had a white jacket on.
Yeah, I know. And in all honesty, his fucking outfit was awesome, bro. Like he had the white suit and the white and red Hawaiian shirt and the fucking fedora. Like that was awesome. I loved it. I love the whole. I love the whole thing with him in this episode.
So Bert's pretty much chiming. He was saying that this was pretty much. I mean, I guess he's saying it's a scene from the comics where Maya goes ahead and takes shots at Kingpin like that. I guess to his face. We know she gets her own series. I mean, I would assume that's where we're going to see him again.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be like a villain, if not the villain.
Yeah.
She was great, by the way. She was really great in the series.
She was great, especially if I'm correct, though. She's not like a trained actress or anything like that. Like, they kind of just like, she's kind of like making her debut here now.
When Kingpin and her were communicating, why was Kazi translating?
For the audience.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's probably what it was.
I would have to say that Jason is 100% right there. It's all for effect.
But
that was a really great moment, too, actually.
But he's signing when talking to her.
I do love that Wilson Fisk learned ASL, by the way. Like I really do love that as a character beat that he could speak that. That's awesome.
And I thought it was a really cool moment when he says "I love you" and she says "I love you" back. Meanwhile she knows that he's responsible for the father's death, and You know, like I was just that was another really cool. There was so many cool moments in this season, but I enjoyed that exchange between the two of them.
But what I think is also interesting, Tony, about the scene you were bringing up as well is they do exchange "I love yous," but then as soon as she walks out of the room, he's like telling Kazi, you know, she's ditching us. That's it.
Yeah, because
he wasn't. Neither one of them were buying it.
But like, you don't get to be the kingpin, and you don't get to do what he does, by not knowing, what's in somebody else's heart. And he knew that she turned away. This was an obsession for her. So the fact that she just walked into the office and was like, you know what, you're right. I really should just drop this whole thing, and that's it. I need a couple of days off, and I'll see you after my PTO ends on Monday. Like, it was never gonna happen. Like, of course he's gonna be like, yep, nah, that ain't right. She's been doing this for 15 years. There's no way that. That she's just going to drop it at the drop of a hat because he said so.
And I do love the duplicity there, though, that like the underlying duplicity of both of them. Like, I just need a couple of days off to clear my head. And he's like, that's reasonable. And it's like they're having this conversation while they're both thinking, I'm going to fucking kill you.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine Tony Soprano telling Paulie, you know what, take a few days off. Clear your head.
That's reasonable. Yeah. Just go ahead.
We're in the middle of a war with an Avenger, Ronin, and all of this other shit going on. He goes, take your days off.
So that pretty much kind of like wraps up the fight that's there. Clint goes ahead and takes Kate and Lucky, because Lucky finally gets his name from just being Pizza Dog. And they head back, and he makes it home for Christmas Day, which is, a nice touch and everything like that, brings gifts, blah, blah, blah. One of the big takeaways, though, that we didn't talk about yet was that Clint goes ahead and finally brings the Rolex back. And we finally find out who the owner actually is. And it turns out that it's his wife, because there's a SHIELD logo on the back addressed to Agent 19, which, if you're familiar with, is Mockingbird from the comics as well. And I think, and that's pretty much solidifies what a lot of people thought she was the entire time. And we got to see throughout the series where she had more training and stuff. She was kind of helping Clint a little bit here and there.
She's his guy in the chair. She's his guy in the chair. She's the guy in the chair.
That's true.
So does that mean that SHIELD isn't canon?
It's a big slap at Agents of SHIELD of saying that it's not canon. So
or does it just mean that she's the original one, and then the chick from SHIELD just took her name?
Well, that's what I think. I think that's what we have to assume, because if you're incorporating, I mean, other than Iron Fist, I think they'll be incorporating most of those Netflix shows into.
Or Iron Fist.
Poor guy's done.
He's the Garfunkel of that series.
He certainly is. He certainly is. His memes about it. We want you. We want you. We want you. Not you. We want you.
Yeah, right.
So I think that it probably is one of those things, like a 007 type of a thing, where the agent number gets pushed down to another. So when you hear Agent 19, you know what that person's job is. So that's what I end up thinking that's what it's going to end up being. And I didn't realize that she's the chick for the one that from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's the chick from John Wick.
Yes, actually she is. Yeah, she's one of the assassins in John Wick.
She's Perkins. She's Perkins.
Yeah. Well, then they go ahead and they take the Ronin suit out to the grill and pretty much burn it, and to pretty much end Clint's run as Ronin officially, and we don't have this problem again where the Ronin suit falls into the wrong hands. So I think it's a pretty cool moment that they have, and that's when we talked about earlier, where they pretty much ends on her trying to figure out her name. And it pretty much said he's like, "Oh yeah, I got an idea," and then Hawkeye flashes at the end of it. I know it's not official, but I would assume that we're gonna get a season 2 of this, and this is gonna keep going,
I'm sure,
or be continued in a movie, one or the other. I mean,
this is not the last we've. It's not the last we've seen of Kate Bishop. It's not the last we've seen of Clint Barton.
No. Yeah, no, absolutely not. I hope it is my personal preference would be a season 2. Then I hope we can kind of like keep this going, because I think Clint and Kate work great as a series.
Yeah,
I think.
Agreed.
I would really like to see how they interact, how she interacts with other Avengers like that. I would be very interested to see how that plays out, because like I said, she really like bordered that whole fangirl type, but I belong here type of thing. And I would really love to see how they flesh that out. But I agree with that. I think that they absolutely there should be a second season of the show, but I do think that I think they jump in and they end up in a movie somewhere along the line as well.
Oh yeah, no, I think we'll definitely see them in a movie, but I just meant like this specific story continues on it because I know like Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're continuing in the next Captain America movie, so that's where they're doing that. Like WandaVision, they're not getting a second season because it's going into, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Right. Loki's got a season 2. What If has a season 2, and Hawkeye, I think should definitely get a season 2. I think it's a smart move to keep it on Disney Plus and keep that going. You got these like smaller stories, like this was involved, and I mean, I don't know if you can keep going at Christmas every time. It would be so great, wouldn't it? It would be pretty cool. So great. Again, damn it.
If you do it at different holidays, next time it's Halloween. The season after that it's Thanksgiving. Eventually it's Arbor Day and they're saving trees.
Canadian Boxing Day.
Yeah, Canadian Boxing Day.
There's many possibilities. I know Alex pointed this out. It said season finale in a promo after the last episode. Well, Alex, just to tell you, all the promos for all the finales of all these shows have all said season finale. So they try to keep us guessing. They're not going to slip up like that.
And they're going to leave it open that if they want to have an idea and whatever, and if there's enough demand for it, they'll bring it back. And if they don't if they don't have a great storyline and they want to just continue, just jump it back into onto the big screen, it just gives them flexibility to do what they have to do.
And
no, for sure,
guys, stick with me on this one. Hawkeye season 20, Hawkeye v Santa Claus.
Hey,
right?
That's where it ends.
It could happen.
And we already said Santa's canon. That's how he makes his MCU debut.
And I do want to see more of Kate and Yelena also, because their dynamic was also really good too. It would be a shame to not see them again.
I do hope wherever Yelena lands, because I don't know if they're priming her for movies or if they're priming her for her own show, but I hope Kate Bishop is somewhat a part of it because their dynamic and their chemistry is awesome.
I have to definitely think that Clint is the way that Yelena gets brought into the Avengers. That's definitely going to be. It has to be.
I think Clint, if they do, and when they do a season 2 or an Ant-Man, we're going to find him and his family moving to the West Coast, and I think
here we go.
They pull Yelena in that way, and you can have Yelena, She-Hulk, Ant-Man, all these people on the West Coast Avengers.
I'm here
Wonder
for that.
Man. Don't forget, we need Wonder Man because you can't have West Coast Avengers without Wonder Man. And he'll die. And he'll die.
Wonder Man and Vision on the same team.
Of course you can.
I mean,
maybe Hercules.
He'll show up.
Maybe Hercules too.
Wanda.
Can you imagine
Wanda's
if this
there?
was? Yeah. Can you imagine if they use the Christmas in New York ruse to kind of throw people off the West Coast Avengers thing? Can you imagine if they did that? Like, would you put that past Kevin Feige? I mean, I would.
No.
Right.
Everyone
I guess
West Coast Avengers. Fuck it. Let's put them in New York and see how they do there.
I guess we know if season 2 is Christmas in LA, we're getting the West Coast Avengers. I think that's a fair assumption.
No.
Christmas in San Francisco.
Right.
And then the mid-credit scene, I while it doesn't set up a whole bunch of crazy stuff moving forward, I love the mid-credit scene for this. The mid-credit scene being that we see a full performance of the song of Save the City, which we got teased in the first episode of Hawkeye. I thought it was a nice way to bring it back around full circle. If you get it, I mean they've had the full song since the first episode on iTunes and everything else. I thought it was hilarious. I think it's great. I would. I'm not a musical guy, but I would watch that whole thing.
I am a musical guy, and I would watch it twice.
For sure.
Of course you would.
Although I do love though that this is also kind of a satirical nod to Spider-Man Into the Dark, which was a musical on Broadway featuring.
Did any of you see it?
I never saw it. I didn't.
That's how I knew. That's how you knew they weren't going to really get me to do musicals if I didn't go see Spider-Man.
And
Book of Mormon's hilarious though.
Book of Mormon is hysterical. And there's a multiverse where the Avengers exist, and they do that musical, and we're doing a podcast about something, and you go, yeah, I didn't go see it because the Avengers not going to get me to see a musical. I'm not in a musical. So I don't think that there's a universe where you would have seen a superhero musical.
Sure, maybe I drew the line there. I know. I think in UK they have Batman. I'm pretty sure that was a thing at one point.
I regret I never saw the Evil Dead musical because it's still going around.
Oh God, I did too. That was in Midtown. That was right where I used to teach, and I didn't make it there.
Yeah,
I did see a Bronx Tale though, and that was pretty cool.
all right.
My father was easy. He was into it. He loves Bronx Tale also, so I gave in and went. What do you want to do?
Cologino.
Exactly. All right, so that wraps up Hawkeye for this. Hopefully, this season that we'll see some more. But I guess we could talk another time about we don't have to really rank the shows and stuff like that. But listen, we got a pretty awesome run of MCU shows this year. I mean, for quite some time. So
if I had told you last January or last December that Falcon and the Winter Soldier would have been at the bottom of my MCU show list, and it's not because I didn't like the show, it's because the other shows were just phenomenal. WandaVision, which I told you the first 10 minutes of that show, I was ready to text you and be like, what am I watching here? That show ended up being phenomenal. Loki, I loved Loki, and I mean this show has been great. So I mean they have really hit a home run with the Disney Plus stuff this year. They really, really have.
So Tony, I watched the first episode of WandaVision and turned it off 10 minutes in. The next week, I watched the second episode and turned it off 10 minutes in. Called Eddie and cursed him out for making me watch this crap. The next week, I was like, you know what? I'm a glutton already. Like, let me go back for more. And the third episode,
that's when I pulled you in. Yep, that's when I pulled you in. Yep. Bro, I was 10, 15 minutes into that first episode, and I'm literally typing this out like, dude, what the fuck am I watching here? Okay. Yeah, I said, I am completely lost. I said, I'm in a I Dream a Genie / I Love Lucy / what the hell is going on here? And I just, you know what? I'm just going to wait it out. I'm just going to see. I have faith. Let's just see what happens. And then by the end of that second episode, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see where they're going with this. And then by the end of the third episode, I was like, I'm hooked. This is awesome.
I was eating it up since the first minute, man. I was
me too. I thought I was the outlier here because I was watching it going, wait a minute, I love the Dick Van Dyke Show. This is the Dick Van Dyke Show in the MCU. And then the second episode, I forget what, was it Mary Tyler Moore that was I don't remember what it was parodying, but I was like, oh, it was Bewitched. It was Bewitched. And I was like, oh, I've seen every episode of Bewitched. I'm into this. So I was eating up that 50s, 60s sitcom stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I was tuning in.
I didn't understand it. That's me too. I was like, what is this?
Remember, it's like the first MCU show. It's like this special thing on Disney. I had no idea what I was tuning into. And I'm assuming we're all about the same age. So we all grew up watching Nick at Night. So we all have seen all of these shows. So I recognized it, but I had no idea what I was stepping into. And that's part of the unique allure of WandaVision. I don't even compare it to the other shows.
Yeah. No. That's actually what I liked about it was I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I dig the aesthetic, you know? And that's I was there just for the aesthetic until it sort of grounded itself in the MCU.
Right. I loved everything that they did this year. They really did. All the Disney Plus stuff. I mean, you look. We talked about it beforehand. I said if they're able to pull off even half of what they did with the Mandalorian, we were going to be in for a treat this year. And I think that they, the Mandalorian is something extremely special. But my God, they really, really hit a home run with these shows this year. Everything. I've looked forward to every single show. Every episode, it really has been, and stuff that I didn't even expect to love. WandaVision and Loki, I was like, what, really? I'll watch it, but am I gonna have any interest? I love those. Were my two favorites. I think I was excited for Falcon Winter Soldier. I'm like, that's gonna be the show. But WandaVision and Loki were outstanding, and listen, Hawkeye was. I have a new love for Clint Barton, not that I didn't like him before, but this is just really, I really, really enjoyed it.
And before we wrap this up, here's a song that I and Spider-Punk wrote about the MCU on TV. No, actually, Spider-Punk's here because he's pissed he wasn't in No Way Home. So, So I think we should honor him and start talking about No Way Home.
Maybe he'll make
We
it
in for this? You ready?
into the spy. Maybe he'll make it into the Spider-Verse too.
That's the word around town. But all right, so this is our time. This is it. Finally, we're here. We're here for Spider-Man No Way Home. We also this movie is huge, and we have to keep our show trying to compete with the size of this crazy movie that we got to see. Jada is now with us.
Oh, look at this!
What's up? Dude, you loving the shirt, my man. Loving the fucking shirt.
Thank you,
I
man.
almost wore a
Salute.
Wu-Tang shirt today too. Now I regret it.
There you go, man. See? Cheers, boys.
You're the pull
God
off
damn,
out of the
did you
gym.
guys talk? Okay, so I know it's shameful to say, and I know Ed knows already, but I haven't seen Hawkeye, not a single episode. So this whole time I'm watching you boys, but on mute to see when it's gonna say Spider-Verse, and that's why I had to send you boys a little love letter on the chat there. I don't know if you guys peeped it or not.
Hey,
But,
I got a
I
trick.
see it right here.
I got a trick for you
There,
next time
pop
you
it
do
up
that.
there.
Next time you do that, put on some rap music.
Stop.
Wrap that shit up.
Oh,
I love
man.
it.
What's up, Jada? I definitely want to
Wrap
hear.
it up,
You gotta reach out and let me know when you finish Hawkeye. I think you're gonna love it.
No, I will. It's definitely gonna be homework during the holiday season right now. I don't have. I'm finally out of school. I was out of school last week, so that's the only reason why I managed to see No Way Home a couple days early, which was I wanted to explode because I had no one to talk to about it. So
Yeah.
that sucked. But thankfully it wasn't like as bad as Civil War. Like I had mentioned earlier that I saw Civil War like a month before it came out.
Oh, that
So
must have been tough.
that sucked. That sucked. But having it only 48 hours before I was gonna originally see it, that wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. What sucked was coming home, right? And Steph, my girlfriend Steph, she could. There was no plus ones on the screening. So it was, and we all talked. I tried to I knew who was running it. I'm like, hey, is there any way? And they're like, dude, we can't. Like, we cannot let anybody in. They really are really hush hush about this movie. And I was like, all right. So coming home to her, and well, what'd I say, man? Why did you leave?
No, you might be stuck.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But coming home to her, and the first thing she looks at me and she's like, how was it? And I didn't want to like explode because I wanted her I didn't want to hype it up even more, even though she was super hyped about it, but I kind of wanted to like level her down so she can go crazy in the theater. And she was I was like, it's good. It's good. It's not the best. It falls somewhere in the middle between all the Spider-Man films. So that was the expectations I set from her from the very beginning. And then throughout, she was like, I was kind of trying to dig before like even wanting to spoil, because I'm like, which one's your favorite? And we started talking, and she's like, I'm like, did you like the lizard one? This and she goes, oh, I don't remember the lizard one that well. And in my head, I'm like, all right, you got to watch this shit like tomorrow night type shit, right? Hey, there it is. But long story short, while we were watching the lizard one, I'm like, she said something about Andrew Garfield. I'm like, man, I feel bad for the guy, honestly. I'm like, he's been on press junkets for other for Tick Tick Boom. They're not asking, barely asking many questions for this movie. And all they want to know is about about Spider-Man. And then I'm like, I feel terrible for him. And I don't know how I downplayed it to where I said and he's not even in it. Right.
You went so far as to say straight out that he wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah, I went that far to her, and she was like, oh, so she goes, so he's not in it. And I was like, oh, I'm like, damn. I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
Nice.
I'm like, look, he's not in it. This is a Tom Holland film, a strictly Tom Holland film. Everybody needs to lower their expectations. And she went in there like that, like, all right, like she's like, I'm like, it's still a good movie.
Did she love you or hate you after she saw the movie?
Both. It was both, honestly. Like when even she was so confused when you see the portal opening up. I know we're like jumping way ahead of the film, and we're I want to start from the beginning, but just that scene where Ned does that, and you see him, and even me, like my reaction, because we were all expecting it, and we all heard before that they were even casted, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, it's no. They started denying, right? But we had heard over years, like about a year and a half, that they were in the film, and they were on set or whatever. And even when that portal happened, even though I was expecting it, I was still shocked, right?
So was I.
But when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, that's not Maguire. Because I 100% knew, I was like, Maguire has to be in it.
Yeah,
if anyone is not, if either one of them is not in it, it's going to be Garfield. And then when you see him, like that lanky ass motherfucker with he has, for me, the dopest suits out of all of them. Yeah. Like he has like the original, like what I grew up watching, the Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, reading and all that shit. And when I guess the whole theater exploded, because we saw it at 6:30 on Thursday. She like turns to me and she's like, "What's going on?" Like she was so lost with it as well. And I'm like, keep watching, like. And then she's like, "But you said he wasn't," and she goes, "You fucking liar!" And I was like, she lost her shit. She lost her shit completely.
Oh, that's so great.
But let's just start from the beginning, man. That's a little side story for you guys.
Dude, I just want to say you're a saint for holding it in as long as you did, because even we were chatting on a message, and I trust you. I know you're not going to spoil the shit, so you're just keeping it very vague. We were talking about other Spider-Man movies. We were just not just like totally avoiding it, but I just sensed that you wanted to explode. You're like, I can't have this information.
And knowing you boys, right? Knowing how much you love this. Imagine you got a whole fucking show on just comics. And them getting this shit so right, them getting the character right, us seeing a multiverse in live action that I never in a million years thought it was gonna happen.
Me neither.
Them pulling it off, and you guys, you saw the GIF that I posted on the group chat when I'm like, when they started coming out, I literally felt like Jeff Goldblum, like, you son of a bitch, you did it, like, you did it.
Yep.
You know. That's honestly how I felt, and I kept saying it throughout. Like with I don't know if you guys know James. He's one of the reviewers. He posts a lot on Pop Cultures. He was sitting next to me at the screening, and the whole time we were just in disbelief that this was actually happening. They fucking did it.
I was the same exact way, bro.
Yeah, it's one thing to expect it.
Yeah.
And then when it actually happens and plays out, you're like, holy shit, this is happening. And for me and Jason, who we reviewed both Amazing Spider-Man movies.
First one. Only one. There's only one. That's
right. The second one doesn't exist. I forgot, my bad. But
I really wish I would have been there for those reviews.
You really wish you could see me get so angry that every 5 minutes I scream into the camera, "Fuck you, movie."
Yeah, pretty much. I was telling Ed, man, I'm actually not a hater on. I don't love them, but I don't really despise them like I despise like certain like Matrix 4. And this is just a little spoiler alert. I hated that fucking movie, and I'm trying to get. I know we're not talking that, or I don't know if you boys have even seen it or anything like that, but I saw it on Monday night, and I keep trying to convince myself to pick something that I really like from that film, and I really can't.
Me and Rick saw it earlier today. Me and Rick saw it earlier today.
There, man. Yeah, bro, that's a conversation for a whole different day.
It could have just been a Netflix movie, really. In my opinion,
not even, dude. It was just a reminder of why the first one was great, and that was it. Like it was just like it was a cash grab fucking film. It was bullshit. I hate it. But anyways, not this.
Getting back to something you guys were saying though, is that I think the reason this movie works is because even though a lot of people predicted a lot of things, right? Like as soon as I saw Andrew Garfield was in this movie, I knew what was going down with the scene with MJ falling, right? But it didn't matter that I knew it because it still got me. Like I knew Tobey Maguire was in this movie, and it was 100% confirmed after Garfield showed up. It didn't matter because I was still got. Like that's the thing about this movie is it didn't matter what you knew or what you didn't know. Living the moment in the movie still gets you while you're there, and I think that's what's magical about it.
And the crowd reactions that we've all gotten. Sorry, Rick.
No, go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, just to piggyback off of what Jason said with that scene with Garfunkel making the save. That was nowhere in my mind that was going down. And when it did, and Eddie knows this because he's been to a house of like a haunted house with me before. I go to a haunted house. I don't try to be a tough guy. Like, it's okay to scare me. If I'm watching a comedy, like, I want to laugh. When he caught her, I fucking shed a tear.
Yeah,
And
me
home.
too.
I did too.
I came
did
home
too.
and I was telling my wife about it, who hates comic book movies, and I fucking shed another tear.
You started jumping up. Look, I had the same reaction. I sat there in the theater, like, I'm like this. I was like, really? It was the redemption. It's a redemption for a movie that happened fucking 10 years ago, and I was like, what? How do you pull that shit off? And so perfectly, so eloquently. I loved it. I loved it.
So I had a convo with Ed right before I went to go see that movie, and that was actually one of my predictions. I told him, I think in the trailer you see Mary MJ fall back, and then I'm like, you see someone grab her, and I'm like, I don't think that's Holland. I think that's gonna be, if Garfield is in this film, I need him to have this moment. It's not a one. I need him to have this moment. And that was so beautifully played in the film when he actually happens. Yep. And bro, his
reaction was
great
phenomenal.
Criers. They're all great fucking criers, bro. Let me tell you.
If you play Peter Parker, you have to be.
Yeah, dude. And then he catches her, and he's in that, like, I kind of like, I did it, right? And then she looks at him like, are you okay? And then he's like there, like, he can't even say anything. That's just some powerful shit, man. This is beautiful
really,
writing.
Really was. Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
but Jay, you had to wait. Jay, you only had to wait, what, 2 days for your girlfriend to see the movie, right? My kids are not. I'm taking my kids tomorrow morning to see it. Okay, and all week they've been fucking pestering me all week. I'm trying to tell them, like, rewatch Spider-Man 1, rewatch Spider-Man 2, and they're like, well, why? I'm like, well, the villains are all in it, so you want to know, like, but are the Spider-Men in it? Like, no, they're not, but you
just
should
watch
really
it.
watch.
Yeah,
exactly. And I was trying.
So that's what I'm doing.
Secret.
So they saw my kids. My kids are pretty young, man. My kids are 10, and my daughter turned 7 on Friday. And my kids now are getting it. They've seen the Holland movies, right? But they're now like, my son loves what's the character of Spider-Man, what Spider-Man looks like, and he loves the PS4 game. But that he's actually saw the Maguire, the Garfield ones, never. And once I saw these movies, I'm like, I got to take the kids to see. This is something that they got to experience in theater, even if they don't know what the fuck is going on. To be like, holy shit, I was there in the theater to see that. It's something that they can think about it or something in the future, right? So as soon as I saw it, I was like, hey, we're watching all 3. So I saw them back. Now, mind you, the Maguire ones, as much as I love them, they're very soap opera. They have that little soap opera between MJ and Peter and all that. So they saw it, but they were so intrigued that the original Spider-Man movie, which I didn't think they were gonna like. I don't know why I thought automatically, because everybody thinks 2 is the greatest one, which they're not wrong. Well, until now. They were so much more into the story of the one with Defoe in it, the original Spider-Man, than the one with Doc. They liked the Doc one, but they were saying they loved how menacing, how crazy Goblin was. And I'm like, man, if my 10-year-old sees what Defoe did at that, fucking 19 years later almost, right? Yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Because 20th anniversary is next.
Defoe is amazing in this.
We're definitely gonna jump into him. So I was trying.
All were great.
I told Ed I had tickets to see it today at 5:30. I took them to the theater, and baby mama was like, hey, with this all COVID outbreak, she's like, I don't want them in the movie theater. I don't want them getting, and they're a little sniffly right now. So we went, saw a trailer, and then I was like, we gotta go. So they were like, my son's like, but I want to see the movie. And I was like, I know. So I'm gonna try to take them on Christmas Day. So but they haven't seen the Garfield one right now. While you guys were discussing Hawkeye, they fell asleep. But we got right up to the final fight between him and Lizard. So
that's about the time when I fall asleep about that movie.
Yes. So it's there, and then they're gonna see the Electro one probably tomorrow, because I have them tomorrow, so I can take them. Hopefully on Christmas Day, I'll take them to see. The thing is that I want them to see it in IMAX. I want them to see them I want them to see it in the screen it's supposed to be seen on.
That's what I do.
The thing is that my kids aren't really asking about the other Spider-Man, because They don't know what really went down. Right now, when we started watching the Maguire one, she's like, "But that's not the same Spider-Man." I'm like, "Exactly. I'm glad you noticed." And then right now we started the Garfield one. She goes, "That's another Spider-Man." I'm like, "Yes, but it's all gonna make sense to you very soon."
Well, I took them to see Into the Spider-Verse, and so they know they understand the multiverse type of thing, and they knew that the villains were in it. But my daughter today just flat out asked, she goes, "Are the other Spider-Man in it?" And I was like, "No." I said, "But the villains are, and you need to know, how they relate to Spider-Man or whatever." And she's like, "Oh, okay." I'm saying to myself,
Yeah.
"Oh, thank God."
Thank God. Yeah. It's like talking about the birds and the bees, man.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, thank God,
It's
please."
like
I would
telling
rather have
Santa
that
Claus is real or not. I
than
mean,
this
it's
one.
fine. 'Tis the season, right?
But a
and
mommy
this is
Spider-Man
real.
and a baby Spider. Anyway,
All right. So
Yes,
either way,
yeah.
let's talk about this. Let's talk about the film. Let's attack it like we usually do. We'll go by characters. Let's talk about spoiler. Obviously, it's already out in the bag. Let's talk about the Spider-Man. Okay. Let's start with Tom Holland. Let's start with Peter 1, as he's known in the film. I have said before he's my favorite Spider-Man.
he's amazing.
He is actually amazing. Some could say spectacular. Someone else could be amazing. But I really do think that, and this is his what? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is his 6th time as Peter Parker Spider-Man. This is by far the best he's been in the role. I mean, anyone thoughts on this? Because I think he crushes it.
I've said this.
I absolutely agree. I think he's giving a way more mature performance than we used to from him. And you and I just rewatched Homecoming, which I love him in, and Far From Home, which I love him in. But this is different. He's more grown up, right? This is him coming into his own as Spider-Man, and his acting really meets that challenge of the character. I mean, it really reflects well, and there are a lot of emotional beats of this movie that he has, like when he's really angry and he wants to he's like, I don't care what happens to these villains, and then when he has his turnaround, which we'll get to, I don't want to jump too ahead, but I think every time the character has a moment, an emotional beat, Tom Holland's acting steps up and gets better. And I think, I agree with you. He's amazing in this, and this is the best he's been so far.
I agree with the maturity thing. This movie felt like a graduation, especially at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of when you live at home and you go to high school, and then when you go away to college and you're your own man. By the end of this movie, I was hearing the Incredible Hulk, the TV show, how it would end, and you see him walk by himself.
Walk by with a little whistle.
Yeah. That for me, that's how it ended.
Piggybacking off you guys, I feel the exact same way. I feel like it was literally, again, Homecoming, was, freshman, sophomore year. Then you get your junior year, your senior year, and this is him graduating completely. This was senior year for him. I mean, passing senior year or whatnot. And maturity level, man. It went from the kid that Tony Stark took in to take to which in retrospect, everything's been Tony Stark's fault. All the beefs for the first 2 movies have been Tony Stark's fault. It was Vulture had beef with Tony. Spider-Man got in the way. Same thing with Mysterio, which I like. And this honestly, I was like, at first I was like, well, these aren't even his villains, but at the same time, it was his fault for changing this. None of this shit wouldn't have happened. This was actually his fault that everything went down.
Yeah. And also, they make the point of saying, when Tony says, "Did you try to reach out and get them to reconsider?" And he was like, "Wait a minute, I can do that." So it's his fault.
I was like Tony. I was like,
sorry, yeah, Doctor Strange. I'm sorry, I'm so used to it being Tony. But
Yeah.
the fact is, you're right. He didn't even explore all of his options before going the magic option. So it is 100% his fault for even going to Doctor Strange and asking him to perform this spell.
Well,
Agreed.
That's because the movie has to happen.
Of course.
The same thing was when he took the
movie.
box away from Doctor Strange. I was like, well, if he didn't take the box away, the movie would be 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I felt like even at the end of everything, we won't talk specific endings, but even the last shot at the end and his decision ultimately at the end of the movie is just a very mature thing to do, where he realizes hey, this is a road that I have to take alone, basically. You know, like this is my out, unless I don't want anybody else suffering. You know, because he sees it. He sees that anybody that gets close to him suffers. You know, so I
And
thought
I
that
feel like
was genius.
I agree 100% with his acting, and I feel like the character itself, like you said, with maturity and becoming, you know, it's so Homecoming was a coming of age story of a kid coming to terms with the fact that he is Spider-Man, and that there's things that he needs to do, and there's a responsibility there that he needs to to live with. But this movie was different because of Tony, and because he was with the Avengers and he did all these things at such a young age before he really kind of understood, who he was and where his place is in the world and in the city. Like he's always had that safety net, that blanket of, Tony will help me with this, or the Avengers will help me with this, or I have this that could bail me out, or now I have the suit with Karen and this and that or whatever. And now at the end of this, it's to a point where he says, I gotta step away. And and Strange is telling him, he goes, everybody, the people who love you, meaning, like himself too, he knew, he came to care for Peter. And he says, no one's going to be there for you. Like no one is going to know who you are. You're just going to fade.
I like that little pause.
Yeah, and it was
that little pause
done.
that Strange does right before he says everyone that loves, and then he like pauses, and you're like, oh shit, like he grew to love the kid, man. That was
exactly. And at the when he makes his decision at that point, it's just going to be him from now on, and he's going to have to deal with things, and he's going to have to do these things on his own. And it's really it's a powerful move by him, but it's also something that's so important because he realizes that he needs to be able to do this shit on his own. And I thought it was I thought his performance in this was definitely far and away his best performance. And
and we're not talking Spider-Man film, we're talking his filmography. This has been his best performance.
Yeah, no question. Sure. No question.
Before we move off of the maturity thing, one thing that I thought was pretty New York centric was when he's talking to the other Spider-Men who are grown-ass men, right? Mm-hmm. All of these Peter Parkers are from Queens. When these guys are describing their favorite places, he says basically like his block. They're talking about places in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So
very New York centric. If you're from Queens, you probably didn't hang out in Manhattan all that much. I thought that was kind of like a big thing. Like, I know you did, Eddie, but you went to high school in Manhattan.
I balanced my time, but no, you're right though. That's a pretty good. No, that was a nice touch that they had for that Peter Parker. I also the big moment for Peter too was that towards the end of the film when he's face to face with that massive screen of J. Jonah Jameson, and he's laying it on him there about how much of it's his fault, like how much he's pretty much fucked everything up, and this is right after, that May passes away. Like that is a huge scene in this film, and it's like really pours it on. And we've all seen the still there of him in the rain, and it looks like and he's crying and everything like that.
It's my favorite shot. That's my favorite shot in the whole film. That's my favorite shot in the whole film. Him in the rain with watching J.K. Simmons.
Yeah,
that for me is my favorite shot in that whole film. It's so powerful, man. It's just a moment like he's at a crossroads. He can't believe what the fuck just went down in his life. And just that pain in his eyes, man. That was incredible for me. I love that shot.
Yeah,
incredible stuff, bro.
Really, really pours it on right there at that time. And and his decision at the end of the film, like you guys said, to piggyback on it, is just that it is a tremendous decision. It shows where he's come a long way from there. And I guess you could look at the No Way Home title as kind of like also applies to Peter. Like this Peter, that there's no going back now. There's no going back home to May or anything like that. And all the safety nets we talked about.
Or
it's
MJ.
all gone. Or MJ or anything.
That's
MJ,
the thing.
Happy,
Do they introduce like a Black Cat or Gwen Stacy or like who?
Well, I think we'll get to that, but I think where we're going to happen next. I think we'll save that for last, though, where we think that's going to go. Then I guess let's talk about Peter 2 then. With Tobey Maguire coming back That's the one, like JD also said too, and us on the show. We've also said we were like 90-something% sure he was definitely in this film. And his arrival in this as the, OG Peter, whose life experience, not played for laughs, like it was kind of in some ways of Spider-Verse, played a little bit differently, didn't have like, the gut and all the other stuff like that. But I think he coming aboard and bringing to the film what he brought to it, I thought was phenomenal, that we got to see his Peter progress from the last time that we saw him. And that's what I think is important with him and Garfield, both of their Peter Parkers, that there was progression from the last time that we saw them. It wasn't just like time stopped and that was it.
Yeah.
And his Peter talking about his MJ and that they kind of had some trouble, but they worked it out and everything like that. And that moment he has with Doc Ock also eventually.
He was Papa Parker, bro. He was Papa Parker.
Yeah.
Exactly what it was,
I loved seeing Toby play that, and I haven't seen Tobey Maguire in anything in like years.
Yeah. I think Brothers was probably the last film I saw him in, if I'm not mistaken. It's either that one or the Tropic Thunder snippet in the beginning, which was amazing with Robert Downey Jr. That was probably
wonderful.
Yeah,
I think Brothers was
amazing.
after. I think Brothers was after that.
Even that's like 15 years ago.
I know, right?
That's what I'm saying. So it was probably Brothers was probably the last thing I saw him in. But going back, like just seeing everything. The one thing that I wish they had done, and Steph had originally brought this shit to my attention, was he didn't have any real moment with Defoe. There was no interaction with either Spider-Man or as Spider-Man or as Peter Parker, except for the little thing at the end, obviously. But that was a one thing, because I'm like, man, that was your first villain. That was the first. The two OGs were on set and they had not one single line exchange. I thought that was kind of like a missed opportunity. Again, very few nitpicks with this film. I don't even call that a nitpick. It was more of a damn, I wish that would have happened, especially seeing Otto have that conversation with him where he's like, oh, you're getting older and good to see you, my boy. Like that was kind of like a little tip of the hat to the fans. Like, it's good seeing you guys back in the theater, and you grown ass man crying in your fucking 40s over Spider-Man, but it is.
I think I guess they don't have the moment face to face, but I thought one thing that was pretty powerful about it though was that when Peter talks about like the cure for Norman Osborn, he's like, I've been thinking about that for years. Like I've always wanted to cure him. So it just makes it tells you that it's been weighing on him since it happened, and it just kept going the entire time.
Right. And I think it's important to remember that like Defoe's Green Goblin is dead. Harry Osborn is dead. Like there's no one left to cure. But Peter Parker is still in his head trying to figure out how to cure the Green Goblin syndrome, like as if he could still save them. And I think that really shows everything you need about this character. It's like, even after he's saved the day, if he hasn't saved everyone, he's so guilt-ridden, he continues to try to work out in his head how to do it. And like this gives him the opportunity. And I think, I don't know, I love Maguire in this so much. I love the older Spider-Man. I'm all here for it. That was all I was saying.
Before we move off the Goblin, I thought one of the coolest things with the Goblin in this one is, for me, he was really Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees. He was scarier with the mask off.
Yes.
Yeah. Hands down, man.
100%. But then he takes the mask off and he's scary.
I didn't ever in a million years think that Defoe was gonna outperform himself.
Yeah,
because
right.
I thought his performance in the original was just so good, and I'm like, he's not gonna top that. That was like kind of like lightning in the bottle. And this motherfucker said, "Hold my goddamn beer, because I got so much more for you guys." And for me, he went from like level 10, he went to like a fucking 1,000. I was like, Jesus Christ! The scene, my favorite scene in the whole movie. My favorite shot was that. My favorite scene in the whole movie was the second he starts getting the spider sense in the apartment and shit just goes down. But when he's punching the shit out of Defoe, and Defoe he's just laughing maniacally, and I'm like, this motherfucker, bro. Holy shit. And the body slams. And my girl leaned in and she's like, how is he so powerful? I'm like, well, he has like the serum. He's strong as shit. He has like the super soldier serum. He's very strong. And then she's like, you don't really see that in the original. I'm glad that they're at least capturing that shit. It was, yes, Norman's on sabbatical, honey.
Yeah.
That was absolutely love that
Shout
line.
out to Gil for that one. Love that line.
That
dude.
was
But
an awesome
everything,
line.
like it's just it's
If you
and I
guys
know
love-
we're jumping back and forth
Yeah.
and all that, but just he was
If you
just
guys
so
love
good in
this
that.
DeVoe, when we're done tonight, you should watch The Lighthouse, where the Green
Mm.
Goblin and Batman fucking watch over a lighthouse.
Defoe's in the lighthouse? I didn't realize that.
Defoe's in everything
is
lately.
Yeah,
Amazing
He's
in the
a
lighthouse.
French Dispatch this year as well.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot there with that Peter Parker that I think we get to see, and then obviously there's the kind of fake, that he got stabbed because he tries to stop him from using the glider to kill him. Then it's kind
What
of
was the
like
spider
I've been
sense
said
there?
before. Listen, the spider sense is inconsistent. It always has been. It is in the comics too. So if you want to say that's comics accurate, sure.
And
Because
I think you meant
in
Peter
thery,
Tingle.
yes.
The
The Peter
Tingle,
Tingle
yeah.
in the spider sense, technically the guy should never get hit ever. So call it what it is.
Yeah.
But I think, Toby being the one to stop him from doing that, I think meant a lot. For him
course.
to, again, to say that he still, still holds, a place for him in his heart, and he still wants to cure him after all this time, I thought was really, really great. And I guess
So right, my bad, bro. Right before the movie started in the theater for the press screening, we had like last minute predictions, right?
Mhm.
And I was James and myself. James was like, I have one that I don't want to say out loud, and I looked at him. I'm like, don't you fucking spring that shit out into the universe because I feel the same way. And after the movie, I'm like, let's see if we were on the same page. And mine was actually, if Maguire shows up, they're gonna kill him like they kill Han Solo. So that was my call. That I'm like, he's gonna come and something's gonna go down, and Maguire's gonna get killed. So when Defoe stabs him, I'm like, fuck, because I really,
Yeah.
I want to see more Maguire.
And I'm not gonna lie, I thought he was gonna die there too, because it costs nothing for them to kill one of these Spider-Men that aren't Tom Holland, right? So when he got stabbed, I was like, no, I can't watch Tobey Maguire die.
I was there
dude,
too,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I couldn't handle it. I would have been pretty messed up. from
Yeah,
that.
but that was one of my predictions. And then when the movie ended, and then I'm like, hey, was it Maguire dying? He's like, yeah, dude. I'm like, I'm so glad we were wrong because that would have fucking sucked, dude. But damn. Go ahead.
So let's talk about Peter 3 then, even though we did a little bit earlier. And I think for me and Jason to come where we're at right now and about to say what we're going to say now is a lot, because we really don't like his movies at all.
His movie, he only had one.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm like, that's two.
Jamie Foxx would like a word, but go ahead.
Yes, it's brutal. But I will say though that this just shows you what writing and directing can do for a character, because I actually really like him in this movie. I like him as Peter Parker in this movie and as Spider-Man, and is a complete turn from where I just was a couple of weeks ago rewatching the other movies. And yeah, like we had said, and I think it was in the WhatsApp chat, Jada, it was like, with great writing comes great characterization.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Total turnaround. Very likable, heartwarming. When you mentioned his moment with him catching MJ, I even got a little choked up too. And this is a character I hated going into the movie, but it just changed everything for me.
He was great.
have
His
to
comedic
admit-
timing for me was on point, bro. It was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
The fact that he was kind of like getting shitted on, even Electro, I forgot what Electro says to him, where he's like, "Oh, you're not even that guy" or something like. He's like, "Oh, come on," and then like everything about it just works, man. I honestly don't hate him. I always thought he was a good, at least Spider-Man. He was all right. Let me go back before I get fucking killed on the show. I thought that
judgment free
again.
scene.
No. I'm just saying. I really thought he was a good Spider-Man. He was a too cool Peter. He was more like an ultimate Spider-Man, if anything. But there's certain things that he does in the movie that doesn't exist, like the whole fire hose thing, and then he has the fireman hat, little things like that, where I'm like, that's kind of like out of the comic books though. So they were but it just for film it doesn't translate well. So it was those same things were kind of bothering me. But overall, his little quips, are better than Toby's in my opinion. So there's certain things that Garfield does that for me were better. Like for me, I've said this a lot. I felt like Maguire was a little bit of both, but I felt like he was always a better Peter than he was a Spider-Man. But there's that meme going around that nobody throw hands like Toby, because if you watch those movies, that motherfucker throws hands, bro.
I wouldn't want to fuck with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. And then you see the Garfield ones, and the chemistry between, you can't deny that the chemistry between him and Gwen is great. That's the only watchable things.
But that's because they were fucking. That's the chemistry was great because they were fucking.
Yeah, but bro, that happens, and it seems like it happens in every Spider-Man movie now.
Which is
this point.
Fine.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing now.
But you can't say that it was great acting because they had great chemistry if they were fucking. However,
we can still acknowledge that it happened on screen, though. Like we mentioned that on our episodes. We did say that they had chemistry. We didn't knock that.
I just hate those movies.
We just think that his Spider-Man quips became dicky after a while.
Yeah, no, I get
Spider Dick eventually instead of being that. And
I get that.
In this, though, there are clips that are like funny, like him wisecracking. And
I am going to say this:
it plays better.
I think I hated him as Spider-Man in his movie. I loved him in this movie. I absolutely loved him as Spider-Man in this movie. I wish I could get an MCU spin-off of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man because they did such a great job at writing his character, at understanding Andrew Garfield as an actor. Like, I can't, like, the 180 turn that I have from the Amazing Spider-Man series to this, like, it's just amazing because he is.
Would you want a third one now? Would you want a third one now, or a second?
From
apparently there's a bunch of people who want a third one.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
From
right
the
now.
MCU. From the MCU.
Sure. Just another Garfield start, which is right. Let's say we can't get John Watts because he's doing Fantastic Four, but let's say you get an MCU director. Let's say it's still Sony. Let's say it's a Sony picture, but they get MCU writers. Would you welcome that?
I would. If it was a multiverse thing and did not mess with the Tom Holland stuff we're getting, and that let's say Andrew Garfield becomes Sony's Spider-Man, like in the Sony multiverse, and it was handled by the MCU writers and directors, 100% I'm on board because I never hated Garfield. I hated his characterization, and his characterization in this is wonderful.
Well, I think it goes to show exactly what you guys are saying right now. The fact that what comes with great writing and just handling a character properly. Look what can do what can happen.
Absolutely.
Fucking take notes.
Garfield was a victim of bad movie making in his films. Yeah. I don't hate them. They're not my favorite. But for me, watching this movie and the scenes that had the three of them, he dominated those scenes.
Agreed.
He's great.
Agreed.
The scenes were great. Everyone was great. For me, he dominated those scenes.
I thought he stole a bunch of scenes that he was in, for sure.
Correct.
Yep.
For sure.
And like I said, he's a victim of bad movie making. But you know who else was too? Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
He was a victim of bad.
He was a victim of bad editing.
But hold on, I think we all collectively love Batfleck, even though we may not love the movies he's in. Batfleck still shined through, and still did his thing.
I am a defender of Batfleck, bro.
Dude, we all love him. We all love him here, man. So
even I'm really, really stingy with my Batman love because I love the character so much.
Yeah, that's Jason's guy.
But the one thing before this movie, the one thing that you could always thank, the Andrew Garfield movies for was getting Tom Holland and getting Spider-Man in the MCU, because if they didn't fuck those movies up so bad, they would never have gone down this road, and he would never have ended up in the MCU. So you could,
they were planning a fucking Sinister Six movie, Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, that was the post-credit scene was all about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
thank God none of that happened.
Well, and then, like I said, now you can thank the fact that that those movies came out, that you have Tom Holland and you have Spider-Man in the MCU.
But, I'll borrow something from Matrix. Cause an effect.
And exactly. But I'll say, and you guys had all great points with him. I thought he was definitely the comic relief in this film. He was great. He was witty. He, and all the things that he acknowledged that he's the third Spider-Man, by saying that he's Spidey number 3. He acknowledged the fact that, the fact that Toby was saying to him, but you're amazing, but you're absolutely, and he's just standing there. He's like, yeah, I just need to hear that. That's all. Great things where they fed him these things like, I never fought an alien in space. I never got to do any of these things.
That's great.
He says, lizard guy.
I fought a guy in a rhino suit.
Yeah,
rhino suit. And
I fought a Russian guy in a mechanical rhino suit. I was like, holy.
Which I love because I think it was a meta way of just acknowledging
it was
that
perfect.
they
It
kind
was
of
like
goofed it up and
washing
it's fine.
over, right?
Yeah,
and he owned up to all of it, and it was so well. I just really felt that he got to redeem himself through all of, like you said, the bad writing and the bad. And the bad characterizations and all that other stuff that they had to go through, and he just got to play such a great part in this film, and and Jason's idea is so great, being able to do another Andrew Garfield movie, and I would be really interested to figure out what the contract would have to be for that, because technically with these films, Marvel has creative control over Spider-Man. It's not. I don't think it's just over Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I think they have control over the entire character. So if they were to do one of these multiverse kind of thing, I would think that Kevin Feige would have control. And honestly, with the amount of money that Marvel is making Sony on these films, they would fucking I don't think they would fight them on anything at this point, for Christ's sake. They're so spot on with this stuff right now.
Dude, the theater today was sold out.
I believe it. I believe it.
Sold out.
Dude, I went to see Matrix earlier, and I was envious of the people going to see Spider-Man.
Going to see Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was gonna go with them.
This fucking movie. No, my uncle was like, because I'm like, hey, look, I'm not gonna go anymore because I bought 9 tickets. So I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be able to go. Let me see if I can get you better seats, because we were trying to sit all 9 together, right? And I went in, sold out for the rest of the day. Every single. I'm not talking Dolby and IMAX only. I'm talking 3D. Regular digital, regular theater, closed captioning, sold out today. And I was like, what the fuck? I know they're already crossing 600 million, if I'm not mistaken, or they passed it already. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I
haven't been in a sold out theater in forever. And the fact that when I went in at 10:30 at night at an IMAX showing, the fact that it was sold out, I'm looking around. I was like, God, I literally feel like I'm back in 2009, 2019. Like, this is unbelievable. It's the first time I'm sitting and there's not like 9 people around the whole theater, and that's it.
Yeah,
I loved every minute of it.
I saw that. I was eating all this shit up. It felt like, again, like we were watching. Imagine it was so epic and it was so big that it felt like we were watching Infinity War Endgame, like a closing, which it was. But this was a single character. You get me? Mind you, we didn't. We've got multiple characters, quote unquote, or what have you. But this was not like the Black Panther fans and the Doctor Strange fans and the Iron Man fans and the Hulk fans. And no, this is Spider-Man fans. Insane to me. Insane to me that this one character is. Oh no, absolutely. It always has, man.
Yeah, but this is like next level though. Like I think it shows the Spider-Man IP on its own is far and above everyone else that there is out there. Like comparable, probably not Marvel. You'd have to go to Batman, or Superman or something like that.
I would agree with you.
Those are the Holy Trinity, dude.
Yeah.
Getting back to talking about like what Sony will and will not allow, I think this movie, what it symbolizes really is the fact that Sony is going, we're putting in with Marvel because we can print money with them. Like, just real quick to the post-credit scene, right? Where we get the Venom is there and we get the symbiote, and the symbiote's still there. It's like, people don't realize that, yes, Marvel gets control over Spider-Man, but Sony gets control of the villains. They kind of get to say what villain can be used and what can't be used. And the fact that Sony went, we're going to put our Venom in your universe so you can spawn your own Venom, that's showing that Sony's like, yeah, we're kind of going all in with Marvel on this. So I wouldn't be surprised
You
if
have
we
no idea
did-
how happy I was to see that shit. When
Oh,
I saw
I-
Tom Hardy
I
when I saw
cannot
Tom Hardy
wait.
disappear, I was like,
I
fuck
cannot
yeah.
wait to talk about this scene, bro. I fucking
Yeah.
love that scene so
Yeah.
much.
I was so happy because everybody was so confused, and then they're like, "Wait, did Tom Hardy get fired on it on a post credit scene?" And I'm like, "I sure as God hope so, bro." And I'm like, and it's not a disrespect to him because I fucking love him as an actor. I just don't think he's a fucking good Eddie Brock. I hate those fucking movies. Whenever you guys are gonna review these movies, please invite me because I will fucking wrecking fucking ball crew like Big Blue wrecking crew on this bitch.
You have
We already
unfortunately
did.
missed you missed the boat
Bro,
on that one. We
school-
actually started that.
School sucks, man.
All right, so
Right.
I guess then, yeah, for Tobey Maguire, no, for Andrew Garfield though, like to answer Jada's question from before, yeah, if the MCU was producing it, sure, I would be in to see more of Andrew Garfield, or if they were going to go with Toby, I don't foresee that for either one of them, to be completely honest with you.
Toby, I don't think could handle doing it. Like, to be honest with you, his business
No, I
will
know,
not
but
allow him to do it. So
And I don't
Yeah.
think Andrew wants to do it. I think Andrew
That's what I'm
wants to
saying.
be-
I think
No.
this was his.
Well, I think Andrew does, man. I think he's welcoming. I don't think Toby does. I think Toby was like, "Hey, I'll do this. We're done. Let me cut my check. Let me go home and write Seabiscuit. We're good." I think that Garfield. I think he'll do one more, at least one more. And I feel like the way everyone has been acting, he's, again, everybody was excited to see Maguire, but no one was expecting Garfield to stand out the way that he did. I think 90% of the people that see this movie and say, "Hey, dude," there had some people be like, "I'm sorry, man, Garfield stole the show from everybody." I still think Holland had the best performance out of the whole film. He had more to do, obviously, a little unfair. But I feel that Garfield, when you talk about, hey, out of the three that came, like, out of the two, let's say Maguire, and then people were saying that Garfield was outshining him, outshining every scene.
Well, I think
So
yeah. Well,
I have a
think where Toby
feeling. I have
was
a
at
feeling
that
he'll do
point.
at least one more. If they give him
Yeah.
the green light, I think he'll do it.
I
don't
think where
he's gonna
Toby
say no.
was at that point, he was just again like the OG mentoring them and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
I agree. I think Andrew was given more of the meaty stuff to kind of like run with and kind of show off,
Yeah.
his skill. with that.
Question for you guys, very quick. How shocked? Okay, so predictions before the movie. Let's say you guys predicted that they were going to be in there. Did you guys think they were going to be as long in the film as they were, or did you think it was going to be a quick cameo at the end, final fight,
Quick.
and that was that?
I think Jason. Well, there are receipts for these things now. I think we did say it was going to be for the final fight.
Yes.
And for like the third act of the film. That's kind of
Yeah.
what we were saying. I didn't think they were going to be showed up in the first 20 minutes and stay the whole time. I think it's more or less, kind of what we expected it to be, like the third act.
I actually, to be
Yeah.
honest, I thought because again, I wasn't sure Garfield was going to be in it at all.
No.
So I thought that if we got both of them, we'd get one more than the other. I didn't think there'd be equal time for them. And that was a nice surprise.
I thought we were going to get on your left scene. I thought Holland was going to be getting beat down, and all of a sudden you whip, and then you see some shit go down, and they swing around. They do a little pose that they did, which was fucking sick, by the way.
Yeah, totally.
But I thought that was gonna be it. When you saw them that early on not early on, but right there.
It was pretty early
on. I was like
about halfway
what
through.
the
They were
fuck?
about half. They
I'm
were
like,
in about half the movie.
Yeah, they were about half the movie. So I was like, this is fucking great. I'm like, I can't believe we're experiencing this, man. So I was really shocked on how much time we got with them, man. So I was, again, man, no complaints. I love this goddamn movie. I can talk this shit for hours.
How about the fact of this? And everybody knew. I mean, we all knew that we wanted to see the three fighting together, right? We all knew that. We wanted to see the three of them going. We wanted to see the quips and the sarcastic comments and this and that and everything else. We wanted to see that for sure. But how did nobody ever think that we wanted the three of them in a lab at the same time preparing for what they were going to be, what they were about to do.
Yeah.
Like that scene was so great. Like that you could tell, like they were so curious and they wanted to pick each other's brains, and it was so well done. And I'm saying to myself as I'm watching this, I'm like, I want more of this. Like,
I want this whole movie. I
collaboration.
want the whole movie in the lab. Please.
Exactly. I want
Yeah.
collaboration of these three together.
That banter.
I want it
going
so
back.
bad.
Them comparing their web shooters was fucking hilarious.
Bro, that was fucking
Okay.
hilarious.
I am so
And you
glad
know,
that got
Ed,
addressed.
Wait, so
and
your
you
body
know
just
that
makes
has
that?
always been. Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
just does that come out of other places or just your wrist?
Yeah, that was
And
so
you know
good.
that I had a huge problem with that from the original series, and I've told you that a million times. I'm like, they lost me in the first fucking half an hour of that movie because I'm like, what is this? Like, it's always
Yeah.
been a web shooter. This what the fuck? It's coming out of his
I
brain.
think everyone.
I love that
I liked
because
it
when I
also.
started reading comic books, it was when he was wearing the Venom outfit where he did make his own. So when
Yeah.
they had it in the movie that he did make his own, like I liked it.
And now we talked
I
about
was-
it on when we did the Sam Raimi movies. Jason and I were fine with it too. We had absolutely no problem with it. I mean, it's fine, but I'm just glad it was acknowledged.
It bothered me a little bit because I obviously read the comics, and not only that, in the show in the 90s, he he would make them. So when I saw, I was like, that's not fuck. And mind you, how old was I?
I was exactly the same way, bro. I was
like
pissed.
14, 15 when that movie came out, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, that's not fucking true. But again, at the same time, I'm like, don't bitch. You got a live action Spider-Man film in front of you. So you take it
Exactly.
and fucking go,
That's
man.
why I
You know,
never complained about it.
shut your mouth and enjoy the movie.
Yeah,
But
I must have asked Ed about 100 times over the years. How could you be okay with the fact that they had him shooting at? He didn't have web shooters, like because look, how many comics and how many fights did he get in that the thing would fucking jam on him,
Yeah,
or
it would
he'd
jam
run
on
out
him.
of his shit or whatever. Like it was just always there. Like that was part of the thing. Like, is this gonna get fucked up? Is this is he gonna be able to have enough to get through the fight or whatever? So I always asked him, and he'll tell you. I mean, I sat across from him for 3 years, and I would say to him, "Bro, how could you not have a problem with that?" I get it. I like the movies. I enjoyed the Tobey Maguire movies. I loved all of that, but that always bothered me. So the
two of the
fact
three
that they,
movies were so good, it made me forget about it.
well,
I mean, he ran out of the sequel.
That's true, and which was acknowledged in this.
Which was like,
right.
yeah, because my girl's like,
Right.
if it's inside of him, she's like, why did he run out? And then when he's like, oh, I was going through a crisis, I was like, fine, bro,
Just
fine.
love the writing, the way to just
No, it was
acknowledge
the part in the bridge when they were talking about the Avengers again.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to next. When they
Avengers, is that a band?
Yeah, dude, that and then and then it was like, McGuire's answer where he's like, "This like the dad. What is that?" Like completely oblivious to what that was, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
it's like,
god,
yeah, that's really
great.
cool. What is that, man?
When
one thing we
Garfield
haven't
asked him, does it come out of any other place? Does it come out of any place else? And he's like, no, it doesn't come anywhere else.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Well,
one thing we go ahead, go.
With the Avengers thing, I think that was great too. Is that when he's just like, oh yeah, I fought an alien in space. And then here, it's like, oh wait, I fought an alien green gooey thing one time, and then Garfield's just like, yeah, I have no aliens.
No.
Yeah, I once fought a Russian and a mechanical rhino.
Yeah, that's it. Spin into that, which is I think what's got a lot of people online jumping for them making him the Spider-Man in the quote unquote Venom verse. To say that's
that's what thing. I think. That's what, if anything happens with Hardy in the future, and they get this guy on board, I feel like that's what we're going to see with Hardy. I think it's going to be Garfield and Hardy that we see together on screen. One thing we haven't touched on, man, was the surprise we got like 5 minutes into the movie, 10 minutes into the movie, man.
Oh yeah,
I did not
go
expect
for it.
to see
Go for it. We can go next. We're done with the Spider-Man.
Matt Murdock in the movie, I lost my shit.
I did too.
All right. I lost my shit when I saw him, and it was just such a wonderful scene. Everybody was saying it from the beginning when, in the trailer, when you see the hands go down, they're like, oh, that, and he, they asked him, and he's like, those are not my hands. And he wasn't fucking right, which is funny as shit. But seeing him so quick, it makes me so happy because I'm such a fan of him portraying that character, and I'm just such a fan of the way that character has been written. I think that show was phenomenal. Out of the Netflix series, it was my favorite. I don't know, man. I like Punisher a lot too. It's like up there with both of them. I really love both Punishers and Daredevil. But just like Hawkeye, I never got to finish Daredevil season 3 because they had canceled the show, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking waste my time and break my heart wanting something. So I know I'm like, I saw like 4 or 5 episodes, and then I found out they canceled it, and I was like, I'm not watching this shit.
All right, Jada,
So
I'll tell you right now though, and I told Jason this because he didn't finish it, and I'm gonna throw it to Rick because Rick's his two favorite Marvel characters are Daredevil and Hawkeye. So he was like all over this. Number one, Rick, What was your reaction to actually seeing Matt Murdock in this movie?
Oh, I lost my shit.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
More than the Spider-Man.
Yeah. I was like, it's official. Let's go.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And would I be wrong, Rick, by saying Daredevil season 3 was probably the best of the Netflix MCU, Netflix Marvel shows?
So with Jada not finishing the series,
don't talk about what happened now.
I'm not going to talk about what happened, but it's like having a birthday cake in his fridge, and he doesn't want to get out of the bed to go walk. Like,
wow,
damn, bro. Really?
What if I told you that there's 8 Daredevil episodes that nobody's ever seen, and you can go home and watch them tonight?
I would end the broadcast and go watch them right now.
Right. If I told you I'm going to send you this link for these 8 episodes of Daredevil that have never been seen, you'll lose your shit. So the fact that you're letting them sit out there.
No, I understand.
Like
it was more of a, and it wasn't more of a, I knew that, not that the show seasons 1 and 2 blew me away. And again, I without seeing season 3, I still think that Daredevil is the strongest next to Punisher, because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the ultra violence or my love for John Bernthal.
It's John Bernthal.
I have, could be both.
Yeah, I just have, and I know I actually love fuck man, I forget this guy's name that played Jigsaw, man. I really liked him as Jigsaw. I thought he was dope as shit.
I forgot his name.
God damn it. It starts with a B, right? Ben something. Whatever.
I have a computer.
But yeah, no, it's neither here nor there. But I thought both of them were they just worked so well off each other. But it broke my heart when they canceled Punisher. It broke my heart when I found out they were. I'm like, you know what? It's just I'm not fucking watching it. I'm like, I'm not gonna get involved. Be fucking like. Like that last episodes of the Daredevil series are always so great. The last 3 episodes are usually like top-notch shit. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that to myself, then get pissed off and never have like some sort of resolution. So I just decided not to finish the show. Now that he's back, I'm definitely gonna watch this shit.
I was gonna say now you got a renewed sense to go back and watch that shit now.
Absolutely, 100%. And I lost my shit because I thought Charlie Cox played that character so well. And it was such a quick scene. Him grabbing the brick,
which
right
was
there,
fucking
and
hilarious.
It was awesome, dude. Awesome.
How'd you catch that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Very good lawyer.
And I also love that
no
moment.
Explanation.
No, I love that too because there doesn't need an explanation. If you're going to see this movie, you know who Charlie Cox is, you know who Daredevil is. You just want confirmation that this lawyer is Daredevil, and that gives it to you. And that's all you need.
No, Jason, imagine the people that went to see this movie that go, hey, who's that guy? And now they have 3 seasons of Daredevil to watch.
Good point.
Yep.
Very good point.
That's right.
No. Well, that's what's gonna happen with me because my girlfriend never saw Daredevil.
So
yes, and she's eating all this Marvel shit up. She saw Punisher. She loves Punisher, but she never saw Daredevil. And I told her, I'm like, Punisher starts with Daredevil.
She gets to see more Punisher now.
Yeah, and then she's like, no, she goes, it's not that I hate the character Daredevil. She's just like, I just never saw the show. And then she started watching. We started, I think, dating when the first season of Punisher came out. So I was watching it, and she would just sit next to me, and she thought it was dope as shit. But when he came out, she knew who Charlie Cox was. She knew because I would watch the show. But when the movie, she like leans in, she was, so that means I gotta watch Daredevil. I was like, we gotta watch Daredevil. Like, absolutely. 100%. But that was just such a nice surprise and so early on that I was like, what else is this movie going to give us? This is only 10 minutes into the film. And I was going to say,
like I went in fully expecting all three of the other two Spider-Man to be in the movie. I totally expected it. But when fucking Daredevil showed up, I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers are going to be in this movie. There's no doubt now. That was my confirmation right now.
That was your confirmation right there, huh?
That was my confirmation. As soon as I saw him, I was like, yep, they're going to be in. There's no, I was just waiting at that point because you knew it. Because you knew that 2-minute, just quick cameo was not going to be the only, jaw-dropping moment of this movie. Like, as soon as he was in, I'm like, yep, they're going for it. They're definitely going to show up. And I knew at that point that they were coming.
All right, so let's talk about the villains. We'll just have at it with all of them. You don't have to go into any specific order. We talked about William Dafoe, so I guess that's the best one to start off with as well. It seems like we all kind of agree that he crushes it again.
I don't know if you know this, Ed, but I'm somewhat of a scientist myself.
Had me rolling.
I love that they call back to that fucking meme. It's awesome.
So I've seen it 3 times already, right? Press screening. I felt like I was the loudest motherfucker in that press screening because there was only maybe 10 of us in that whole theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like when I saw, and you can ask Steve, man, when we saw Endgame, people were so quiet. Even with when Cap gets the hammer, right?
Yeah.
I swear to God, if it wasn't for me, Kyle, and Steve, I felt like no one else was cheering. We were the only 3 fucking drunk guys, and I'm like, bro, I'm like, are they that snooty? Like, what the fuck is going on, man? So I told, I'm like, I'm always gonna see a movie opening night, like these movies you want to see in a crowded room with the people that are there that actually love these characters and love these stories. So again, it was night and day. The only thing that I like seeing it early is that I'm like, oh man, I can't wait for this room to explode right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that reaction with when the Spider-Mans came out. It was maybe half the room cheered. It wasn't anything too crazy where I was like, where the fuck am I? Is this the Twilight Zone? Like, this is opening night, right? This is the 6:30 showing to No Way Home. But it is when the villains started coming out and all that shit, I felt like they should have hidden that. I don't know why. Part of me, they should have not said that. They could have teased the whole multiverse scene with the Doctor Strange and just say other people are trying to go in and leave it at that and not give us anything. Much more impactful was that movie? I mean, again, not again. We had expectations, and I felt like they exceeded all our expectations. But how much more would have gone up had they not shown us any fucking villains whatsoever?
Oh, we would have completely. Our minds would have melted.
Lost
their
minds.
Yeah.
Absolutely lost their minds.
But I saw some articles that they were talking about. They were considering doing that. They were considering keeping it all under wraps. But then I don't know if they were wondering did they have enough to show to sell the movie?
Yeah,
exactly.
no, yeah, exactly.
They kept the best part of the movie. They kept the secret, which was the other 2 Spider-Men.
Yeah,
they need to release something to sell the movie.
Yeah.
And if you rewatch those trailers, you're getting the first 30 to 40 minutes. Besides the big battle at the end that you see that quick little scene, but besides that trailer only shows you the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many misdirects in it also.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's so many misdirects, which they've
Marvel
become famous for now.
Yeah, Marvel's all about that shit. I trust them.
Absolutely.
That when people get nervous about, there's so many trailers coming out, I don't want to get spoiled. They don't spoil anything from their movies.
They don't spoil nothing.
They're so calculated.
This is not DC.
No, it's not DC where we see Doomsday in the first fucking BVS trailer. Like, I think that would have hit home so much better if we just didn't even see it, regardless of how it turned out.
To be honest, I think the marketing campaign was a misdirect for this. Like, they were really trying, and even the announcement that Charlie Cox was going to be coming back as Daredevil, I think Marvel went, they kind of know that we're going to bring him back, so we're going to announce that to misdirect the fact that we're going to get D'Onofrio and Hawkeye. So I think a lot of their choices and their advertising campaigns for this was kind of trying to be a misdirect.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. There was definitely, or even just to get your.
Wait, did you say D'Onofrio's in Hawkeye?
I did not. No, I was talking about.
No, I'm kidding. I already know that shit. That's cool.
All right.
I want to know what planet Jada lives on that he can do that.
Damn it!
Jason, just don't tell him how CB1 dies in the last episode.
Fair enough. I won't.
Yeah, man. No, man. No. That it sucked, man. But obviously, I was hyped with Spider-Man, and then I went on Facebook, and it's the very first fucking thing I see, and I'm like, I have avoided everything on this show, and I see that, and I'm like, fuck. But I'm excited because obviously, again, going back to the whole Daredevil conversation. But yeah, continue. I just wanted to make it a little funny. Go ahead.
Yeah,
When you said the opening night thing, though, Jay, you're 100% right, because when you go see it, amongst the fans, the fans are going to be there that opening night. I saw Endgame twice on opening night. I saw it by myself at like 6:30, and then I went back and with my boys, and I got to see it later on that night. And I've said this a million times, and Jason on will say, if I could just bottle the feeling that I had watching that movie for the first time, I would be a billionaire, because it was amazing. It really was. It was an unbelievable experience, and I didn't feel it obviously to the degree, because look, Endgame built up over the course of 10 years, 20 films and so on and so forth. This has been building over the course of the last, the 6 appearances he's had and so on and so forth. But the feeling that you had watching all of these things happening at once, it was a small dose again of what I got from Endgame, and I loved every second of it.
No, exactly.
It reminded me of comparable. I think it's comparable.
It reminded me of that. It was kind of the same feeling for me. Again, I was with that anticipation. I got to see Endgame again a little early, and I had tickets for opening night. You always got to secure the bag, right? You never know if you're going to get invited to these things or not. Right. So I'm always going to get my tickets for opening night. So I know if I see the movie, I'm at least going to see it twice within that week, right? For Endgame, right when they're going to go and fight Thanos and all that shit, I'm already like, they're like, oh my God, this room is about to explode. And you get that. Endgame was incredible, that energy. I even felt like we were at a football game, like people stomping their feet of how crazy shit got, right? And with this movie, I don't know if it was just because it was a Dolby theater and everybody was just on recliners chilling, bro. But my friend saw it in IMAX and he said that shit exploded, right? Yeah. So I'm like here thinking, I'm like, I think my first showing's got to be an IMAX theater because, everybody's there. It's a bigger screen, more people. But at the Dolby theater, like I said, man, it kind of sucked. It wasn't until the second viewing that I saw it. No, wait, third viewing. Third viewing, because I saw it again, where people fucking exploded. I'm like, there you are, man. Like that. This is the crowd that I wanted to see it with, right?
Yep.
But that feeling it's crazy that you mentioned that, man. It's crazy to say again, because it's one of those things that being growing up reading this shit, watching this shit, what have you. You didn't think that they were ever going to be able to pull that shit off, from fucking starting with Iron Man 1 being as good as it was to launching to what the MCU is now. And that moment right there, right at the end, right when, Cap catches Mjolnir and to your left, and seeing just everybody charge exactly how you fucking like read it, or have you envisioned it or whatever. That it's crazy to say but man, I had kids, I've had sex, all this shit. It's one of the happiest moments of my life, man. Just going back to that shit. Dead ass, man. And I eat this shit up, man. And it's just passion, and you grow up, at least here, like Miami is a very shallow, very judgmental city. And I would always rock my Spider-Man shirts, man. Even before the movies come out, I always had Marvel comic shirts. Or back then it was actually, bro, I had Hawaii. You know those Hawaiian shirts? I had Spider-Man Hawaiian shirts that I would rock.
You need to wear that next time you come on.
Yeah. Oh, bro, if I fucking find it, I probably don't even fit into that because I was a fucking twig. But if I ever I'll find pictures and I'll post them up because I don't give a fuck. But that's always been my love for that character, right? And that expanded me obviously to like, Batman's and, the Marvel universe and all that. But now seeing what it was before, like, oh, you fucking nerd reading this shit. Cause I used to buy comic books all the time, to what it's become now, how everybody's just all of a sudden into this shit. I can't say all of a sudden, but throughout the years, they just gotten so many more fans and fans and fans, which is a beautiful thing. It's not something that I hate on, but a lot of people can hate on something like that and be like, oh, you weren't there from the beginning. No, fuck that, man. Come into this world and see how dope it is, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, man, you just brought me back, man, and it's just a beautiful time. My friend literally just was texting me. That's why I was looking down while you were ruining Hawkeye for me. And he just literally
Glad I was here for that.
And he texted me because he's probably one of the if not the biggest Spider-Man fan I know, right? And he just wrote to me and he goes, I have no words. He goes, being able to dodge all these spoilers for me just makes this moment extra special. And then he goes, glad the symbiote stays in the MCU and not Hardy, laugh out loud. And then he goes, I still have to process this. I can't even talk about it, bro. But he goes, I'm nearly to tears right now. And if you see this man, he does not look like a fucking, like this guy is he looks like a fucking douchebag, man. He looks like Flash Thompson. Imagine a Flash Thompson, bro. Big guy, drives a Corvette, very pretty girl, comes from money, but he grew up watching this shit. And I'm like, man, this is incredible. This is just that universe now, what it's become. And I don't know if he's a late comic book reader or not, but the fact that this man, and I know him personally, to be like, yo, this movie nearly brought me to tears, and like happy tears, bro. They pulled it the fuck off, right?
So I guess it's talking about the villains. Defoe crushes it. I think he's the standout amongst all the villains here. We've pretty much established that. He even, like you said, Jada, though, he builds on what he did before, and it kind of was a reminder, like us going back and doing that rewatch was a reminder of it. Now, getting to see him take it to another level was just mind-blowing. I did not think it was possible. William Dafoe's a phenomenal actor, but he just really even just crushes what he did before. Alfred Molina picks up where he left off before. It was great seeing him again. Not very villainous, though, this time around, though. More,
well, that was one of my little, not nitpicks. I saw it coming. I saw it coming in the trailers. Yeah. Because you saw the trailers, and then you see him captured, and then you don't really see any other clip of him attacking Peter. Not even at the end. You don't see him there. I would have, like, CGI'd him in there to throw you off or whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, I think Doc Ock is going to team up with them and try to catch the other villain. That's what I honestly thought was going to happen. I didn't think they were going to, make him good again. But I thought he was going to team up with Peter and be like, hey, look, I fucked up. You're not the one I'm after, but let me help you with these guys because these guys are more, cynical than I am. That's where I honestly thought the movie was going to go. I'm kind of glad they didn't go the route that I thought, because I thought it was kind of corny. But I do like the fact I was a little upset because I wanted to see more fighting between them two. That scene for me was incredible. And when he gets that nanotech, holy shit, man. I just wanted him to do just a tiny bit more. It just I guess, but what more can they do, man? Honestly, like, this movie again delivers.
No. Jason, sorry, you were going to say something.
No. I just think that we actually called it on the show that we thought that he was going to start off as a bad guy and turn into a good guy. Mm-hmm. And I actually really liked that happened because it's comic book accurate, but it's all because there are moments where Doc Ock is not a bad guy in the comic. But it also really, even more importantly, goes in with the character from Spider-Man 2 because, and I do love this, like, because I questioned, well, the last time we saw Doc Ock, he was taking the hero's death to save the city from his own monstrosity. Why is he a villain again? And then we find out because he kind of blips over right after he learns Peter Parker is the villain. But it also tells us that he does still have it in him to be the hero. He needs to get control over the tentacles. And once he gets control over the tentacles, that's when he makes his turn. So I actually really loved the bridge that we get of him and his character arc. I really like it in this.
The face. I see what you did there, bridge. I see what you did there. Good stuff.
Thank you.
But no salt water. But no salt water for him though.
Oh my God, that was such a great line. I honestly thought they were gonna have a little. Since Happy was kind of out of the picture, and Doc Ock and Aunt May on the comics, I was like, are they gonna have a little subtle flirty line there, like, hey, we read comics too, but we got nothing, man. We got nothing.
I actually thought it was interesting that they in the in the trailers and in the marketing, they showed Electro with the arc reactor, and usually that's something that they would try to erase out. But I think that they were so in misdirect mode. I think they just looked at it and be like, you know what, fuck it, leave it on. let them worry about that and not worry about anything else. Because I thought that was really interesting that they showed him in the trailer with it, because you obviously could see it and you're like, why is he got a fucking arc reactor? And I thought that was really cool that they did that, because that was all part of the their misdirect was by just leaving it in there, because it didn't really have any effect, other than the fact that it made him really powerful for that last season. Other than that, it really didn't do anything else for him.
Well, Jamie Foxx
talk about fucking redemption. Talk about redemption, right?
I was gonna say that's another example of great writing comes great characterization. I mean, he is so much better in this film than he is in Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's zero comparison. Whatsoever.
Question. He doesn't know that he's Spider-Man, though, right? That was kind of like
that's where they fucked up.
And
we talked about that earlier.
But
right,
again,
but
it's
fine.
As I said, I think he gets the name Peter Parker from the fake Green Goblin, who from the movie that doesn't exist, and he does, but he never sees his face, and so that's why he knows who Peter Parker is, but he goes, that's why I thought you would be black, because he never saw his face, but he knew the name.
Jason, are you suggesting that people should go back and watch that scene to make sure?
Scene from what movie, Ed? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
That's what I don't understand what you're saying.
I saw this online. I'm just parodying
off camera. Another off camera.
I happened off
camera. Yeah, it's off camera.
The very first time you see Electro, for me, was another amazing shot with the black suit, and he has the thing on, and you just see him spark.
Yeah, that was really
sick
cool.
as fuck, bro.
But here's my question, because every other villain is exactly the way that they were in their original films, except him. And he supposedly, quote unquote, didn't know Peter Parker was Spider-Man in his movie. So is that Electro the one that we got from the movie that Jason says doesn't exist? Or is that some other Electro that we got?
Well, the thing is this, and I hate to talk about this film a little bit, but he did lose his body, because he does mention, I got my body back. That's why he looks differently. Because at the end of that movie, the movie we did not say.
Yeah, I remember. He gets stuck into the fucking outlet or whatever.
Exactly. He's jumping around outlets. He gets overcharged, and he pretty much turns into. He has no body anymore. He's just electricity.
At the end of Rebels 2.
They do explain it in No Way Home. He's like, wow.
I was going to say, because I
got my body back.
Another Christmas movie reference.
Yeah, great. One of the greatest Christmas movies.
No, they cover their bases.
Is a hell of an upgrade from Electro 1.0. I mean, holy shit.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. And I think the pleasant surprise for me was Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman, because we never see Thomas Hayden Church in any of the marketing, but yet he's there.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to see him.
And it was when I heard his voice, I was like, all right, I think
you know what, too? If we're gonna talk about Electro, didn't know Venom.
Rick, we're getting to that.
We're getting to Venom.
Because we have to discuss that scene with the Ren Porter villains. No, but Thomas Hayden Church back as Sandman was great. He was by far the standout in Spider-Man 3. That movie sucks also.
That Thomas Hayden Church comes back, sees Spider-Man, and goes, I'm helping you because I know you, and then I don't know you. Right? You're not the Spider-Man. And the fact that he goes back and forth from being like, I'm helping Spider-Man, I'm fighting Spider-Man, I think it's perfect, because his whole thing is like, I don't know you and I don't care about you. I thought I knew you and I helped you, and I don't care about you. I want to get home to my kid. Oh, you want to heal everyone and save everyone? You know who doesn't die in their universe? Me, with my kid. Yeah. I'm going back to my kid. Fuck you and these villains.
He was down to help whoever was going to get him home.
That was it.
That was it.
And that's a very comic book accurate Sandman stance.
Yeah. And I think the one who gets the short end of the stick, which I don't mind, is Lizard. Lizard's just there.
Who they forget in the van.
Yeah, who they forget in the van and everything like that, which is fine though. But he actually looked a little bit better in this, because I hate the way he looks in Amazing Spider-Man.
No,
he literally looks like King Koopa in the old Super Mario Brothers movie.
But he
Holy
didn't have
shit.
the pants, and he
It's
didn't have
brutal.
the lab coat. So
That's why Tim was upset. That's why he refused to come on and talk about it. I'm kidding.
that's right.
Tim loves the lab coat and the purple pants on Lizard all the time. He thinks it's hilarious how it just keeps showing up. So I guess the other villain to talk about, because we didn't get an official Sinister Six, because it kind of does.
Yes, you
stop at
did.
5.
Of course you did.
Did we?
Yeah, motherfucker. MIT.
Oh wow!
Biggest villains of the fucking
Wow,
movie.
true. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I like
MIT is the
that.
biggest
I
villain
like
of the
that.
goddamn film.
MIT
This
is
is MIT.
Oh, that's
fault.
good. That's
the
good.
most sinister out of all
Yeah.
of them. They caused a lot of shit in this movie.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely did. My bad.
You have troubles in your past. We're not letting you in our school.
Yeah, man.
Well, actually, before
man.
we get to Venom, though, there were silhouettes that were coming through when Doctor Strange says, "I can't stop them, and won't come through." That's when we get actually comics accurate Rhino silhouette, Black Cat,
Raven?
Scorpion, and Kraven being the most obvious out of all of them.
Craven was the one that I was like, is that Namor or Namor or Craven? Namor. And then I was like, it has to be Craven the Hunter. But yeah, man, I actually right now you just put me on because I didn't see Black Cat at all.
Oh no!
No.
Oh,
I'm like every time I see those
I didn't see
scenes,
Black Cat
focus
either.
on
I gotta
this-
look for that tonight.
I see the same exact ones over and over again, and I'm like trying to look elsewhere, but I
Jaden,
always
you got
focus
something
on
to
it.
look for when next time you go see the movie again.
No, I gotta go see it number four, man. Don't worry about it. Trust me,
totally
man. I'm
seeing
trying to
this
break. I'm trying to break my record or tie it for most movies seen in the theater.
What's the record?
So, it's record 6. I've seen
What
both
movie was this?
Spider-Man 2 6 times in the theater, and I
Ooh.
saw The Dark Knight 6 times in the theater.
Okay,
Wow, all
Yeah.
right. Two great movies to revisit in the theater like that.
I got Regal
Yeah,
Unlimited,
yeah.
so I can keep pushing it as much as I
Yeah,
possibly
I got stubs. I
too,
got
yeah.
AMC stubs. Man.
Nice,
So
nice.
so that's why I'm like I'm gonna again. I already told the kids. I promise you, and if they want to see it a second time, I'll probably go with them again. So, but yeah, I had no idea. You said Craven. I only saw Craven and Rhino.
Craven,
I think, and
Rhino.
Scorpion.
Rhino, I saw it too.
Scorpion, Black Cat.
Yeah, I didn't see
Wait,
Black Cat. I get it.
Did you guys see Mojo? Mojo was there.
He was in the left.
Here we go.
right, the left
Here we
side.
go.
By Mephisto.
Here we go.
Mojo and Mephisto are holding hands.
Yes.
Well, I was racking my brain trying to figure out who the first shimmery person we saw when Doctor
That's
Strange
cool.
first opened it up. That
Yeah.
we saw that one guy kind of looking at him.
Mhm.
I thought
Who the heck
no.
was that?
The very first person I saw was Craven the Hunter.
Kraven
No,
the
no,
Hunter
no,
was
no,
the
no.
first
I
one
mean,
that
in
saw.
the scene where he first opens up the multiverse, somebody comes through and looks at him. You see, like
Oh shit.
a lit up figure come through and look at Doctor Strange, and then Doctor Strange like kind of closes the gateway. Not
Well, it
in
wasn't
that
any of
scene
the
with
villains.
Peter.
Yeah, it
It's
wasn't
not
any
in
of the
that
villains
final
I
scene. It's in the first time when he
It's in the
opens it up.
beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Something
can't
else
wait
to
for
look
this movie to come. Yeah, I can't wait for this movie to come out. Just pause it every fucking.
Maybe it was
Yeah.
the Watcher.
I mean,
You
Rick,
know-
I think
you know what
clearly
I
it's
did see?
Mojo.
You know what I did see the very first time. I don't know. I guess I was looking at the right direction. I saw Liz from the original Spider-Man on a stance, like in a magazine stance.
Yeah.
But I saw there was an article that just came out on it that actually says what it said. There's no way in hell unless whoever I don't know if it was IGN or who the fuck was, has a pause button in the movie theater or they have a copy of it already
Probably
to
have a
know
copy.
exactly what she fucking says. Because I see her face, but I'm like, the tabloid, there's no way you can say. But apparently she says that Peter Parker's a liar or some shit like that.
Oh wow.
I read an article that says, "Oh, he's a big liar," and that was one of the clues. But I saw her face and I'm like, "Oh shit, that's Liz!" And my boy's like, "Where?" And I'm like, "No, she's like on a Daily Bugle or magazine stands, and she's like on People Magazine or some shit." But I did catch that. It's when Doctor Strange and Spider-Man are about to go, and he's like when the cape is chasing him and shit. It's right on that scene. But yeah.
So I guess let's just jump into the other villain then. Let's talk about we'll jump to the mid-credit scene with Venom. We mentioned with Tom Hardy and everything like that. So do we necessarily Tony mentioned it. So the question it gets complicated now. So we know Tom Hardy has no idea who Peter Parker is. So we're assuming the symbiote obviously knows, because otherwise there's going to be no point of him being pulled into the MCU.
Yeah. No,
through
the
this whole
symbiote
spell.
obviously
The
knows.
symbiote has a hive mind.
That's what I
Yeah.
was going to explain. Like, it's connected to Venom, Let There Be Carnage, a film that I watched once, will probably never watch again. I got what I needed from the mid-credit scene.
That was the only good thing in that film, bro.
That's the standout, by far.
That was it.
By far.
That was it.
So are we going to say that the symbiote in the hive mind, does he know who Peter Parker is because he's connected to Topher Grace Venom?
For sure.
It has
sure.
to be, because even when as cool as that mid-credit scene was, and I'm like, is he just physically attracted to Tom Holland that
Right,
he's
it was
saying that
kinda
guy
weird.
and he makes you scream? I'm like, or does he know who he is? That was always a question.
Wait. Guys, do you not lick the screen when Tom Holland comes on your television every time? Because I do. You guys don't do that?
It's usually,
I got
it's usually
burnt
Ryan
my
Reynolds.
tongue.
Ryan Reynolds for me. Ryan Reynolds or Chris Hemsworth for me.
That's fair. No, them too. I don't discriminate.
But yeah, man. But yeah, so I was always confused by the post-credit scene. I was just happy again that the movie was over, and B, that we got Venom into the MCU one way or another, or we got introduced into the MCU. But I kind of, again, a movie that I only saw once. I talked about that post-credit scene maybe one day and was like, man, that was the coolest part of the fucking movie. But I really didn't get it, because I was like, how does he know who Peter Parker is? So that always confused me, because I'm like, if anything, it made sense that it would be Topher Grace, but not Tom Hardy's character, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
But,
right before that, there's a whole discussion about the hive, like Rick was mentioning. They talk about the hive mind. They talk about past experiences. They talks about this whole thing, so it leads you to believe: is he connected to the Topher Grace Venom, or that symbiote, or is there more? Has this symbiote bonded with another Peter Parker that we've never met before? Which I think was another possibility at one point. I mean, I think they're all still on the table right now.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think they're all.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it very firmly. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I got 2 shitty Venoms in 2 shitty Venom movies. Right? Like, and I'm talking Topher Grace in the Venom movies, like whatever. They're fine, they're fun, whatever, but it's not the real Venom. And
no, they're not. Don't defend these songs. There's no way that they're defending Venom over the Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man's a better film than Venom.
No, it's not.
I'm
but
sorry.
Nonetheless,
I think we're comparing dog shit and cat shit, but go ahead.
We gotta do like a movie fights episode to try to defend Venom versus the Amazing Spider-Man.
I would be in for that. But the fact that we get that little thing of the symbiote in the MCU, I don't care why Venom was there. I don't care about anything. What I care about is I may actually get an MCU Venom, and that's all I want. So handwave everything.
Agreed.
I don't care how it gets there. I love that Eddie Brock was just drunk for 3 weeks or however the fuck long this movie took. And he just went, I'm in Mexico. Let's drink our asses off and then go, oh shit, maybe we should go sleep with Peter Parker. He's gone. I don't care. I might get Venom in the MCU. That's all I care about.
So we're going to talk about consistency, though. Technically, this part of the symbiote should bring off a completely different symbiote and not Venom. Right. He should be somebody else. He should be Anti-Venom, or he should be Toxin, or he should be any one of the zillion other symbiotes Marvel went berserk with and created an entire, like...
That makes a lot of sense since Eddie Brock doesn't exist.
Technically, or I know there's a list IGN put on is that he would go ahead and bond with Flash Thompson.
No.
Here's the thing. Eddie Brock.
I'm not for that. I'm not for that. I'm just saying
Eddie Brock has not shown up in the MCU. That does not mean Eddie Brock doesn't exist in the MCU.
There is an Eddie Brock.
Could be multiple. There could There's got to be.
So to be honest,
the thing is, Eddie Brock worked at the Bugle and had beef with Peter. Peter's never going to work at the Bugle.
This is true because the Bugle's not a newspaper anymore. They're
okay,
not
all
pictures,
right.
So they can find another thing for them to beef over. Whatever the hell Peter's working.
They can wave the hand.
Who
we'll
cares?
all suspend our belief.
Gwen Stacy hasn't met Gwen.
Fuck it.
There you go. Fuck it.
Can we just talk? Can we just talk about the fact that it's just so appropriate from the Venom movies that they're in the MCU and they spend their entire time at a bar in Mexico completely drunk. The two fucking
do love
losers
that.
that they
Yeah.
are. I mean,
I do
how
love
fucking
that.
great, how tone perfect, pitch perfect is that the two of them are sitting there talking to this fucking idiot behind the bar and they're completely drunk. And he's like, wait, there's a what? What's his name? Hulk? I was like, and there's Venom in his ear, like, and you thought that my name was shit.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, I literally was like, this is fucking perfect. It's exactly what it was supposed to be. And then he gets sucked out. Like we're thinking that this is it. They're going to be
Great.
he's in, and that's all. And he's in for for one day, and he spends it at a bar, fucking drunk, talking to a bartender about the Avengers. I thought that was perfect.
I do too.
I guess before we get to the speculation of what and the ending and stuff, is there any scenes anyone that we didn't touch on that anyone wants to bring up?
I thought the Aunt May death scene was
That's what I was going
incredibly
to say.
powerful.
Yeah, the death of Aunt May. Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
I thought it was incredibly
Man,
powerful.
that Holland does death scene so well.
Yes,
So
he sure
well,
does.
bro.
Yes, he does.
God,
But I mean, and hats off to Marissa Tomei. She was absolutely perfect. And like we've seen Uncle Ben die probably as much as we've seen the Waynes killed and everything on film. And honestly, this was more impactful, I think, than any of those scenes. I mean, she really, how she delivered the with great power comes great responsibility was perfect. It was just really, really well done. And I've been expecting for a long time that we were gonna hear about the Uncle Ben thing and what happened and whatever. And in this universe, what they did was they flipped it. Ben died of something else, and she was Uncle Ben. And I was like, when I saw that and when I heard her say it, I'm like, God damn it! They just continue to hit the nail on the head. It was really spectacularly done. Yep.
And not only that, it was such a prolonged scene where you start doubting, like, is she because you see the glider and you're like, oh shit. Boom. I got the feeling that she was gonna die from the moment Goblin starts talking to him in the apartment and she went to go grab the serum. And I'm like, she's fucking dead. I'm like, she's dead, 100% dead. So, but it gets so prolonged because she's going, and then he's holding him, and he's like telling it, and then Peter's telling her run, and then when you see the glider coming, gets hit, all the shit goes down, and all the shit goes down except for May. May goes down, gets up, gets him up. They start talking. She delivers that line, and she's still walking, limping, and I'm like, oh shit, she's gonna survive, and boom, she falls. Even watching it the second time, it's a prolonged scene where you're like, holy shit, man, they really have you teeter-tottering. Is it going to happen or not? But it's so well done. He delivers. She delivers. The fact that woman did not blink for as long as they had the camera on her and a tear comes out of her eyes, bro, man, bravo. And she's still fine.
Academy Award winner.
No, it really was spectacularly done. I mean, in a scene again where you're expecting, and then like you said, there's doubt. They start sowing doubt into it, like, hey, maybe she makes it, or maybe this, or no. It was just really, really well done, and he was phenomenal. He really was. He was really phenomenal.
We also got a spine buster and a power bomb in this movie, by the way.
Oh,
That actually happened. Like when there's a spine buster through about 3 or 4 floors, which is like the one from hell. Holy shit! Rick,
I was waiting for the people's elbow, bro. I was ready to go. I'm like, this is it. It's got to be coming sooner or later.
Did anybody notice the German suplex in Hawkeye?
Yes, I did. That's why I thought there was something weird going on today with wrestling moves in the MCU.
No, I didn't.
Isn't he going to buy the WWE? Like,
Rick, you just spoiled the entire ending.
I'm like, no, I haven't.
There was a Hurricane Rana in Hawkeye. There was a Hurricane Rana, and there was a German suplex.
Well, I've seen Hurricane Ranas in like Black Widow 1,000 times. Like,
that's
did that move about 1,000 times. No, but like Spidey does like a power bomb at one point.
He picks him up and goes boom.
Yeah,
CJ, I just want you to realize that I am the only one that has not mentioned that show since we've been on the air. I know.
You're gonna get a nice gift basket for Christmas.
I just want you to realize that I have not mentioned it not once.
What show is that, Tony? What show are we talking about?
Yep, sorry.
So I guess that kind of brings us to the ending though, where
Well, wait,
Peter's on his
I'm
own.
sorry. I do have one more thing I want to bring up because we didn't talk about this at all. But Doctor Strange in this movie is amazing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the Inception type scene where Doctor Strange like sucks Peter into the mirror dimension, and Peter uses math to best him, and has a line of like, "What's cool with the magic? Math." Like, come on, we had to talk about that scene. That was awesome.
Scene right there. It like if you didn't read the comic books, that scene would never make sense to you. If you read the comic books, you've seen Peter beat the Hulk. You've seen him beat all these people. Like he figures shit out. Like he's a little Batman-y that way.
No, and not only that, and you got to get not only credit to Benedict Cumberbatch, but also to John Watts, man, because every time there was a certain theme or certain character on film, it felt like it was being directed by the original. So that felt like it was very obviously Doctor Strange, very Scott Derrickson. And even and Michael Giacchino, the score is something we haven't talked about either. And even the subtle, they had a little subtle thing with the original Danny Elfman right before they were gonna they were gonna go to battle. It's very subtle, but it's there. And I'm like, this is awesome. But going back to that scene, when you're in there, it feels again you're watching a Doctor Strange film, and it feels like very Scott Derrickson. But then when you go and you have your scenes with Alfred Molina on the expressway, it feels very Raimi. And it was just getting the tone perfectly fine per everything that the audience has been used to seeing in the past, and that's it felt like a welcome home. It was fucking great, man. So good shit bringing that up, man, because we didn't really touch on Cumberbatch, and he's just fucking killing it, man.
He's great in this.
And
fantastic. He gets lost because there's so many beautiful things in this movie, but he's worth talking about because he is fantastic.
No, and I like that. Again, I like the fact that they kind of put him aside because, again, you had Tony Stark on the Homecoming, and then in the sequel you have Tony Stark's shadow. And then in this one, you see him and Benedict in the front cover, where you're like, "Fuck, man, when is Tom Holland gonna be by himself?" Even though in this one he doesn't, but I feel like he dominates over everybody else. This was very, very, very well a Tom Holland Peter Parker film. Like they just nailed that character, and I like that. Doctor Strange was there to explain what the multiverse was to the people that don't know or don't read the comics. He did his job. He went to the side, comes back to help to wrap it all up. He did his job perfectly fine. She was raw.
Yeah. How about Wong? Obviously we get the information that he's the Sorcerer Supreme, but how about now knowing that? Go back to Shang-Chi and explain to me what the hell Wong is doing with Abomination in a fight club. Somebody explain why the Sorcerer Supreme is doing that.
I 100% get it, because if you watch Shang-Chi and what he's doing with Abomination, he's trying to teach Abomination self-control and discipline. So, and that's why he says, like, you got to pull your punches, because if you don't, you're just going to kick your own ass, right? Because that's what he does. He tricks him into hitting himself. So as the Sorcerer Supreme, he has taken on one of the biggest, baddest villains and said, you know what? I'm going to try to reform him.
The hell is that?
I don't know.
Multiverse.
What is this?
We're getting introduced to the multiverse.
I'm very afraid.
I think we got hype on Max Headroom.
Is Ultron here?
Ultron can see us through.
Is it me?
I don't know. I'm glad I'm not the only one who can hear it. Wow. Okay. Are we past it?
Special effects brought to you by Pop Culture Pros, guys.
Wow, I think we're past it now, though.
All right, the event has happened. We've blipped back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was 65 degrees.
Oh,
All
man.
right. So, on that note, yeah, no. The ending of the movie, though, Peter goes and makes the sacrifice. He's on his own. Nobody knows him. He's off to what I'm going to assume is going to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man now, right?
That's what I got. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty much like the world forgot about Peter Parker. No one knows who he is. Doesn't exist. Could ask a lot of questions about his social security number and all this other stuff. That's fine. Maybe he has them. Maybe he doesn't. If it is exploits of Spider-Man still happened. Like everyone knows Spider-Man fought alongside the Avengers and things like that and all this other shit. Where are we thinking is next for him though? Are we thinking he goes back to friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Who's he fighting next? Does he join with he's gonna meet up with the Avengers eventually. That's a given, right? Like that's gonna be a thing. It's also in Tom Holland's contract that he appears in another MCU film. Whether they wait for it to be the next Avengers film, or I'm glad, Jada, you brought up John Watts, though, directing Fantastic Four. I do wonder if that might be the next time we see Peter Parker in a non-Spider-Man film would be in Fantastic Four, because they also have a lot of connections in the comics.
Absolutely.
And that's also in the comics.
And I think that's who bought Avengers Tower. Still
you
think it's Richard Reed.
It'll be the Baxter Building?
Baxter Building, or yeah. But I honestly, it's either Doom or I don't know. But I feel like it's gonna be Fantastic Four related, and they already fucking know because he said it in the interview that he knows who bought Avengers Tower, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Or is it Norman Osborn? Or some people think it's Wilson Fisk that bought that building.
I
didn't see
think
Hawkeye,
it's gotta be the Fantastic
No,
Four.
it's nothing to do with that.
I like the Fantastic
do
Four
that.
thing, especially with Venom being introduced. Reed Richards is the one that helped get rid of Venom. He's the one that figured
in
out.
the comics, that's how he gets rid of him.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, it'd be an excellent way to introduce the Fantastic Four. Would be just use Reed Richards or something like that.
I'm
No,
for
I
that.
can't wait. I feel like he's gonna be friendly neighborhood. That's what I felt like the ending was. You're gonna get I think we're gonna get a Craven movie. You see it right here. Amazing Spider-Man and Punisher. I would love to see that shit. And then just them, obviously shake hands at the end. They were like, all right, you're not a bad guy or whatever. I would love to see that shit. Just John Barenthal come back as Punisher. But I think Craven's gonna be next. That's why he was front and center on what's going on. I know we're getting a Craven solo movie, but I think that's that's not MCU related whatsoever, right?
No, it's Sony.
Yeah.
So
and I love that Sony's become open to doing their solo stuff and doing MCU stuff, because again, I don't want to see a Craven solo movie. I will for this podcast. However, I do really want to see a Craven movie with Spider-Man. And if they can both exist in this universe, I'm fine with that.
Just adapt Craven's Last Hunt, and that would be.
That's it.
Perfect.
That's all. Oh God, that's
right.
brilliant.
More faith in a Morbius movie or a Craven movie?
I'm gonna say Morbius because I actually kind of think it looks kind of cool. I'm gonna tell you the truth from
I
the
think
trailer.
I actually
it's
have
connected to the MCU.
Yeah, and I actually think but it's connected to like all of them because you see Maguire's background in the wall, his Spider-Man, then you obviously see Keaton in it, and I think you see something.
There's Horizon Labs and there's Oscorp.
And yeah, dude. So I don't know what the fuck is going on in that movie. I was against it because it fucking no homo. Fucking Jared Leto left a bad taste in my mouth after Suicide Squad. Even though it was slightly redeemed with his Snyder cut, I liked him a little bit better than that. Even though everybody's saying that he played the same, I don't think he played the same character. I think he was a little bit more grounded with the Snyder cut version that we got of him. But Morbius, I had no faith, didn't care for it. I even didn't watch the trailer right away. I saw the trailer, I think, when I went to the movies. I didn't even see it on our phone or anything like that. And then when I saw it in the theater, I'm like, man, that shit looks really fucking good. I'm like, it looks pretty cool. And obviously lost my shit when I saw Michael Keaton at the end of the first trailer. And I was like, bro, what the fuck is this? So I have a little bit of faith in it. It's actually one of the movies that I'm looking forward to seeing next month. And it's right around the corner. We're gonna get a bunch of good shit next year, man. And but what a way to end! I don't want to count Matrix as the movie that end the year. You know, I'm gonna still say it's Spider Man. But what a way to end the year. So much has happened this year with the MCU altogether. Again, I know you guys fucking spoke about Hawkeye for almost an hour, so that shit must have been great.
You're not going to be disappointed, man.
No. I bet I know I'm not. It was crazy because I started catching at the end of the show where I'm like, I think you guys were wrapping up, so I started listening in. How you were saying that had they told you a year ago that Winter Soldier and Falcon was not going to be your favorite, that was going to be in the bottom of the show, you would have been great. Same thing for me. Winter Soldier was my favorite MCU film for so long.
Yeah.
And that was the one that out of all of them that I was looking forward to. Now, I wasn't with you guys because I was eating all up that I Love Lucy shit with WandaVision from the very
you
first
were right
episode.
with us at WandaVision.
I was and I was right there where I'm like, I'm eating all this shit up because I know this shit is gonna be so fucking grand and so big. And for me, that has been the only show where we were speculating the craziest shit. We were getting, even though the Patreon thing ended up being a fucking boner joke at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, just that the show weekly, how we were just like this and that, and this means this. We were going crazy over that show because it was just so fucking great writing.
Right. That's right.
But going that to Loki to Falcon and Winter Soldier, I obviously haven't seen I haven't even seen What If. I did see the Doctor Strange episode, which I'm really happy about. I've seen like 3 or 4 episodes of What If.
That's the best one.
Yeah, and I saw that one, so thank God, because I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about the post-credit scene. But I'm kind of happy when I saw that. I fucking lost my mind. But I think Spider-Man, at the end of the day, he's going to stay friendly neighborhood for a little bit. We're going to get some cool villains. Hopefully, we still get a fucking Scorpion movie, because as corny as that character is, I feel like it can work. I just want to see some characters that we haven't seen. And honestly, believe it or not, I want to see Keaton come back at least one more time, man. I thought Keaton did such a great job as the Vulture. And
awesome.
And since they didn't kill him and they teased that at the end and they're teasing him with Morbius, I want him to have at least one more shot, which we got some Keaton news today. I don't know if you guys talked about it at all, but
we did not, but we did get some big Keaton news that he's going to be in the Batgirl movie.
Batgirl, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't expect that at all.
You guys, your thoughts at the end of the film. What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think the next villain's going to be? You think it's going to be Kraven since he was the first one that popped up, or?
I'll say, whatever. I'll throw mine out there. It's tough for me because they tease the symbiote, so you would assume that maybe it'll attach to Peter.
Yeah, it's usually how it goes.
Yeah,
they tease it and you go. Yeah.
But if he's gonna stay, he could still. I want him to have the suit for the entire movie, and I want to see a comics accurate black suit. I want the white tarantula, and I know MCU will do that, so I'm not worried about it. They'll crush it. But he can also fight another villain. That doesn't mean that's his villain, and he gets the suit off at the end of the movie. Then he can fight Venom the next movie. I will throw it out there as I would like to see him fight someone like Kingpin. Like, he is a Spider-Man villain after all. I know he gets lost in a lot of things, but he absolutely is. That would be a way to keep him grounded, friendly neighborhood, having to take that on. I mean, whatever. He's in the MCU now. So why not? That would be phenomenal. And those two have teased it. Tom Holland and Vincent D'Onofrio have went back and forth on Twitter a lot about this, teasing the shit out of this thing. I say let's make it happen. Spider-Man versus Kingpin. Genesis game. Let's go.
I like that.
See, I would like to see. I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would like to see. Scorpion, because they promised us Scorpion in the mid-credit scene of the first one, and Scorpion's origin in the comic is J. Jonah Jameson put him up to it, and got him trapped in the suit, and now that we have a J. Jonah Jameson who is not a good guy, he's less likable than the J. Jonah Jameson in the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi universe. I think I could see this J. Jonah Jameson putting money up to get someone in a Scorpion suit to fight and kill Spider-Man, and I would love to see that play out.
I like that.
And the tease, as per the math you guys were just saying, the tease makes sense to be in the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had his parting, we saw him for a
okay.
couple of seconds a movie ago. So like now would be the right time to roll him out.
Right.
Yeah.
Same
And
thing
he's
with
not going to
Venom.
find out he's not going to find out who Spider-Man is, because right now, due to Doctor Strange's spell, Vulture doesn't know who he is either.
Right.
That's gone now. There's no more protection for him from there. Tony,
Yeah, that's what I was
do you
going to
think?
ask. Where do you think this shit's going to go with the whole who knows what? Do you think that we didn't talk about, obviously, him losing MJ and Ned, but
Yeah.
you think Ned, since he has no connection, we're finally get the Goblin Ned? You think that's
get
where they're
Hobgoblin?
going with that? Because
they
there's
teased it a lot.
there's exactly, and then at the end of the movie when he's obviously talking to the other two which they kind of did the meme, which was great.
Yeah, briefly. Yeah, they did that. Yeah.
Very, very briefly. It wasn't per se, but when he talks about it with Toby's character, and then he does that promise where he's like, I'm never gonna do that to you, but then the memory, the mind gets erased. That he could probably be the jealous best friend of MJ that does, this guy's trying to try to win her over or whatnot, and then he's like, yo, fuck this guy, and so on and so forth. Like, in the comics, it's because Betty Brant gets she gets mugged or hurt or some shit like that.
Yeah,
I think that's how it happens. It's something along with Betty Brant. I remember that, and that's when they teased it in Far From Home, which I hated that little part of the movie, to be honest with you. But I think that's where they're going with that, where he, obviously made it known and they said it on film, like, hey, I'm not going to do that to you. But then, whoop, you don't remember who this guy is now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a next movie thing. I think it's eventually going to lead to that. And we're going to get the Hobgoblin storyline like that.
That'd be cool.
Just what, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tony, what do you think is next?
I can't see the actor being that physical on screen.
Agreed. That's my only take on that.
Yeah, that's my only thing on it. Is everything else I could buy, but I can't buy him flying around on a glider or, doing a bunch of that stuff.
Motherfucker better pump up the next 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, we saw Jonah Hill do it.
Well, he's lost a lot. He's lost a lot of weight from the original movie anyway, so maybe he's heading in that direction. But
yeah,
I don't think we see Spider-Man again until Fantastic Four. I think that they set this up kind of perfectly that Fantastic Four is coming. I definitely think that the symbiote is definitely going to be part of this whole thing. They put it in the film. I mean, John Watts is going to be directing that film, which he's done. The first 3 Spider-Man movie. It just seems to all line up. And honestly, we've gotten a lot of him. And there's a lot of other stuff that's gonna come down the pike here, and I can't see him being part of, Thor or or the Marvels, or I think that they're just he'll be on the bench for MCU movies for a bit, and then he'll just pop up again in Fantastic Four. I think that's the next non-Spider-Man movie that we'll see him in, and it'll be maybe that's where you get the symbiote. That's where you'll get him and Venom, and then you'll get the black suit. And I think that that's where you'll go. It's really kind of all over the place, because now with the way that the spell is written, or the way that the spell is done with Strange, now we got to see what happens with Morbius, because you know that he's in that movie, and he's playing the character, he's playing the Vulture. So it's going to be really interesting to see what comes down the pike. I don't even think I can think about who they're going to introduce as the villain for him next. But I think the villain is going to be whoever is in the Fantastic Four movie, because I don't think we see him again until then.
Makes sense. I like that. I originally thought that with the mid-credit scene of Far From Home, when Mysterio reveals who he is and we see J. Jonah, I honestly thought it was going to be a hunt for Spider-Man, and I thought Kraven was going to be the villain for this new one. That's what I originally thought, and
that's what I thought too.
Fucking wrong.
Yeah, especially since they've been throwing Kraven around for a while now. So I agree. I thought that was definitely a possibility, but when it started to be, we started to see, like, when that first trailer came out, and it was, like he, the questioning with the police and whatnot or whatever. That's where you get the idea that Murdoch was going to show up, because how better to get Murdoch in to the MCU than to him, being Peter's lawyer. So that part of
and what happens with that?
I mean, Peter doesn't need a lawyer anymore, but Happy does.
Yeah. Happy
so
does.
If there's anything there.
And he represents, a bunch of different Avengers over the course of time. So with Kingpin back, with Kingpin, around and whatnot, and seeing what him being in this movie and being his attorney and talking to Happy and whatnot, like he's definitely he's not getting his own film, but he's definitely going to show up, and I can't wait to see him in that Daredevil costume in an MCU film. Like that's going to blow my mind.
Oh yeah, me too. I agree 100%. 100%.
All right, I guess quickly though, before we wrap this up, then let's just run down, since we all talked about it, gave your rankings of the Spider-Man films. I don't have to get into a whole thing about it. We did throw it out there, and I think let's just get Jada. You want to run down yours first? Like, how do you rank the Spider-Man films? Now that
I actually have them written down. Give me 1 minute. Where are we at? I have. Is this including Spider-Verse or no?
Yep. All theatrical Spider-Man movies.
Fuck, man.
Yep, you're not getting out that easy, my friend.
All right. You know what, man? I think I'm gonna go with it after watching, it's crazy because I really didn't think that Into the Spider-Verse was gonna get knocked down, dude. But I think I'm gonna go No Way Home, man. I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's something that, again, it's easier to pull off in a cartoon than in a live action movie, and that's probably the bump that it gets with me. Where as awesome as Into the Spider-Verse was, it was a compelling story, amazing work. I'm getting like fucking tongue tied or whatever, but just the animation, that's what I'm looking for. So the animation, everything about it, the soundtrack to it, everything about it was just so dope, right? But I'm like, yeah, well, that's like kind of writing down like drawing a comic book and showing this. But to be able to pull this shit live action, for me, that takes a lot. So I have No Way Home at number 1. I actually have Into the Spider-Verse at number 1, but I think I'm doing it. No Way Home, number 1. Spider-Verse, I want to say number 2. I have Spider-Man 2 at number 3. Got Homecoming at 4. I have Spider-Man 1 at 5. I have damn, this one's hard. I want to say Far From Home. Far From Home, I'll have, and then Amazing Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then Spider-Man 3 at that last.
Okay.
And that's even after rewatching them. I know you guys hate the Amazing Spider-Man films, but I don't hate them as much as I don't. And it's not the Spider-Man parts from part 3 are fun. It's more the MJ Peter story that I fucking hate in that movie. Probably as much as you guys hate anything in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm that passionate about it. But that's my list, man.
Okay. Rick, Spider-Man movie rankings?
I think everyone's suffering from recency bias right now. I think we're having a lot of everyone calling LeBron the GOAT like Michael Jordan didn't just play a couple years ago. I
get that. I don't know sports.
I think that like Spider-Verse is still number 1. I think that the fact that it's animated, it's so much more difficult to get adults to watch it. And adults are the ones that were like, that's the best one. That's better than Spider-Man 2. So I think the fact that it was animated, I say the opposite is Jada, that, like it's while you might say it's easier to like get it across, it's easier to get it across. It's harder to get people to want to see it though. Like to get me to watch an animated movie, like my daughter has to make me watch it.
No, I'm a kid, bro.
And with that being said, the DC animated movies are amazing, but they're still animated. It's a lot for me to want to watch them. But yeah, I think everyone's dealing with recency bias right now, and they're calling LeBron James the GOAT. I still think
I've never done that. Don't worry about it.
I still think it's Spider-Verse, then this one, and then Spider-Man 2. The rest of them, they kind of lay themselves out. But I think those are my big three.
Okay. Jason?
All right, so recency bias aside, I actually do think this is my favorite right now, and it's because it does what Spider-Verse does, but with a whole bunch of characters I have nostalgia for in real life, in live action. And so for me, I mean, again, I'm just talking my favorites right now.
No.
Uh, I really did appreciate seeing all these different like villains brought in. Like I love Spider-Verse, but I got to watch this going, this is Spider-Verse live action with fucking actors I really know in live action. So this is my first. The Raimi 2 is my second because I just love that Dr. Octopus. I love everything about Raimi 2. I think that is a near perfect movie. Then there's Spider-Verse for me because I think that's awesome. Then there's Homecoming, Far From Home. Then there's Raimi 1. And now we get into the things I don't like, which is because I like all of those above are wonderful. But then there's Raimi 3, which I agree with everyone here. Like there are parts you like about that, and there are parts you don't. And then there's The Amazing Spider-Man. And that's my list.
I knew you were going to do it. Tony? No.
You're muted.
Oh.
No. So
his voice got blipped.
My bad.
there he goes.
We good now?
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to say that number one is definitely for me is going to be No Way Home, and I'll tell you why. Because Spider-Verse was a great film. You know, the animation definitely, and I'm not a huge animated movie person, but the to me the animation was definitely a big part. How they did it, how it looked, it literally looked like you were watching a live comic book, and it was done perfectly. So I really enjoyed that. But Spider-Verse was the initial kickoff of those movies. You know, obviously we're going to get a second one. For me, No Way Home, the build-up from all the other films, from the six times, the 5 times that we've seen Holland as Spider-Man already, and bringing everything together, bringing the villains back, like, you know, and like we've talked about for the last almost 2 hours now, you know, it was a culmination of all of those other films, which I really enjoyed. And to me, that vaults it into the first spot. So I have No Way Home 1. I have Spider-Verse 2. I actually have Homecoming 3 because I feel like, you know, telling that Peter Parker story of how he really got started as Spider-Man without, you know, going back and clicheing it with Uncle Ben and, you know, how, and all of that and whatnot.
And all that.
Exactly. And seeing how, you know, Tony is in there and trying to mentor him to not make the mistakes that Tony made when he was younger and brash and stupid and whatnot. So I really enjoyed Homecoming in that aspect. So I have Homecoming 3. Spider-Man 2, you know, the Doc Ock we've talked about, you know, that's 4 for me. Far From Home, I really loved Mysterio. I loved how, you know, even though Tony's gone, you know, the Edith glasses, how he, you know, he sends them to him, he gives him that responsibility, you know, after in Homecoming was basically telling him that I have to take your suit away. So to be able to, you know, for that character to build himself up to the point where he would entrust him with the glasses and everything that goes along with that responsibility, you know, is a big part of, you know, the buildup of this character and why we love him the way that we do. So Far From Home for me was 5. The original Spider-Man was 6. I do not have as big a problem with The Amazing Spider-Man 1, at least. 2 I did not really enjoy, but 1 I didn't really, it didn't really bother me. And then 3 obviously is my last.
Which I can't. I'm gonna give mine quick, and then we have Alex's rankings here, which he dropped in the comments, and this might be the hot take of the century.
Yeah, I know. I read that, and I want to fucking jump off a bridge. No offense to Alex.
Jason, I'm concerned about your nephew. I want to give him a hug.
He's got his own Spider-Man opinions, man.
I know, no, that's great, but I've never.
That's fine. That's fine. I know.
I've been flabbergasted.
But they're wrong.
All right, so I'm gonna go No Way Home as number 1. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Verse, Homecoming, Spider-Man, Far From Home, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't know. Maybe I would put in above the Amazing Spider-Man movies, maybe the Japanese one. He has the robot and everything. And he pulls out the thing. I would probably.
The Japanese one is way above the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Maybe the
I didn't
Nicholas
realize that was in it.
But maybe the Nicholas Hammond ones. The Nicholas Hammond ones from that were on Fox and like the afternoons. That one also when he's like crawling. Yeah. When he's
way above
people.
The Amazing Spider-Man movies.
No,
way above.
I mean, listen, I'm going to stop shitting on Andrew Garfield because he was awesome in No Way Home. So
I never shit on Andrew Garfield. I shit on those terrible movies. That's my thing. I think we did say that we liked Andrew Garfield as an actor.
Yes, we gave him props. But
yes,
sweet Jesus. Spider-Man 3 is the favorite Spider-Man movie of all time.
Right, but if you've been paying attention,
I love you.
If you've been paying attention to everything he has said in these shows, that is not a surprise. He is the apologist for Spider-Man 3.
Dude, the guy, his sentence starts off with the movie was a 15 out of 10. So what is the ranking of Spider-Man 3? Like a 20 out of 10? Is it
20 out of 10, man.
Like what? Wow.
20 out of 10.
That is astonishing.
But I think everything after Spider-Man 3 is correct.
No, I can down with him after that. I also am starting to think Alex is trolling us with this whole Spider-Man 3 thing. Listen, kudos because it's hilarious. Listen, you are hilarious, my friend.
You guys just haven't seen the director's cut yet. That's the
look.
You know, I really want. I've been looking for it. I actually was on this crazy binge trying to find the Tobey Maguire. I didn't know they were on Peacock, so I'm going on Amazon trying to shop, and I wanted the Steelbook 4K because it has all the first 5 films, and it has the director's cut of Spider-Man 3, which I have not seen. So I really wanted to watch it. But this motherfucker on Amazon wanted $200 for it, and I was like, "Suck my balls! I'm not paying that much for that." Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that when No Way Home comes out, they're gonna have a big deluxe set with all of them on it. So I'm probably gonna hold up. Yeah.
Well, Daredevil director's cut was way better than the original Daredevil.
I agree.
Zeta's a fan.
I agree. Oh, I definitely agree. I think that I mean, it doesn't help it immensely, but it does help the film a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. The court scene, the Coolio. I told them they had Coolio in it, man. It was just little nice surprises in that shit. So I agree with you 100% there. But this was fun, boys. I miss this. You know, I haven't done a show since I think July or August. I
was like, wow, we're gonna be his return show. That's amazing.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. I miss this, man. I haven't been able to talk up shop. I talk shop with like my girlfriend that can't go deep dive. Like, you know, I'm the one that spazzes out with her, like, oh, and this means this, and you know, all this shit. So this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me back, man.
Yeah, thanks.
I know
for
I talk a lot. You guys gotta tell me. You gotta mute my shit sometimes, man. I get excited.
You know you got an open invitation, my man. You know that.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Can we do the re-review of Hawkeye when I finish watching it?
You are more than welcome to come on with us and chat about Hawkeye. Rick, thanks for coming on with us too. We appreciate it as well.
For having me on.
Tony, glad to see you back again. We'll hope to be seeing you soon because next week we're going to be talking about the 3 Kingsman movies. So all of them, because we just saw The Kingsman. So we'll be discussing that. We'll be doing all Kingsman episode next week. And then after that, just like we did a lead up to Spider-Man No Way Home, we're going to be counting down the Batman movies. Right after that, leading up to The Batman. Jader just, light bulb just popped up. He's like, all right, which Batman movies do I want to talk about? You let me know.
I could talk about all of them.
Rick is going to be back to Batman and Robin and Batman 66.
I could talk about Batman. That's the only one I probably can't talk about. I've seen that movie one time, and I'm like, I'm never putting myself through this shit again.
Which one?
Batman and Robin?
No. 1966.
Oh,
I'm not a fan.
Oh, you're missing it, buddy. You're missing it. I've seen that more than anything.
Man.
As a matter of fact,
I actually just bought it recently.
Ed did not want to cover it on this, and I went, no, I will not do a Batman run if we don't start with Batman 66.
I almost threw
All right,
Catwoman
so-
back at him.
I'll see you week 2 then, guys.
I'm sure we're gonna get some guests for Batman '89 because I think a lot of people want to talk about that one. So
It's a classic
yeah.
movie.
that's a
Oh
classic.
yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, thanks for
That's
joining
fun,
us
man.
tonight. We appreciate it. Whether you're joining us on our Facebook stream or YouTube, or if you're finding us on Twitter or Instagram or wherever else it is, thank you very much. We appreciate the support as always. Join on, click on Pop Culture Pros, like the page, like the group, like the Granny's Peach Tea group as well. If you want to go ahead and any idea when Jada and Kyle's coming back? Any talk of
Dude,
this?
that guy's busier than me, man. I try to review No Way Home and Matrix, and he hasn't been able to.
Okay.
So I've been trying to get him. I know he's flying back down. I think this way he's either here now in Florida, or he's coming down tomorrow. But I know he's been busy as fuck. New York, you guys like changed him completely. New York took my boy away, man.
Sorry, man.
I said Bing Bong to him the other day. He had no idea what the fuck I was talking about, so I thought that was pretty
Wow. Wow.
Yo, I follow that page, and I think it's the greatest thing ever.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. So then when
But
you'll
yeah,
be
man,
seeing
we'll
them
see. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll be making a comeback. I told them I'm going to have a little bit more free time because I'm going to switch my classes to a different date. And I'm going to switch it to a morning class versus a night class, so I'll be able to record some sets. So you'll be seeing the Jada and Kyle show come back relatively soon. We got a lot of films to talk about. 2022 seems to be pretty promising so far. So even January, I'm excited as fuck. Scream 5's coming out. I eat those movies up, so
Same here.
can't wait for that one. Yeah,
Same
man.
here, man.
So
Be
on the lookout.
All right.
There'll be a new Fast and Furious, I believe, too. So, Eddie, I'm sure you'll get 2-3 watches out of that.
Yeah. So we'll be going ahead, and if you like wrestling, you can check out the Just Too Sweet show as well with Eric and Tim. Shooting the Sith will be coming back. We'll be actually sort of getting their start coming up soon because they have Book of Boba Fett to talk about. I'm sure me and Jason, Antonio, whoever wants to pop on out, you can chat Star
I
Wars.
will probably
with Tim.
be joining here and there.
go.
I'll be jumping on that shit too. Yep.
You're going to be like the Incredible Hulk in of these shows. You're going to be popping in here and there and just blending
Pretty
your
much just
talents
here and
all
there,
over.
do what I got to do, and just bounce back up, man. That's it.
So we got that for you. If you're into football, you've got the New York Giants for We Stomped You Out. We got Unsportsmanlike Conduct as well. And if you want to hear Eric ramble about anything from A to Z, he covers it all from A to Z on his show as well.
From Abraham to Zechariah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everything
and
in
also,
between.
Jason and I have another show called 00 Deep Dive where we'll be talking about No Time to Die. Not next week coming up, but the week after that. So you can check that out or check out past episodes. We've covered the whole Daniel Craig era so far, and we'll be working our way backwards through the Bond films. So we'll be sure to check that out. So hope you enjoyed the show. Everyone stay safe out there. Merry Christmas. You guys, Merry Christmas as well. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, man.
And
Merry Christmas, guys.
we'll see you soon. Peace.
Sign up.